As part of Ferrari Fridays, William Ross from the Exotic Car Marketplace will be discussing all things Ferrari and interviewing people that live and breathe the Ferrari brand. Topics range from road cars to racing, drivers to owners, as well as auctions, private sales, and trends in the collector market.
As part of this week's Ferrari Fridays, you've just tuned into a very special episode where host William Ross gets together with me, crew chief Eric, Jon Summers, the motoring historian, and special guest David Neyens from Motorcopia as we reunited at the 2026 MECUM Kissimmee Auction to do a play-by-play commentary on all the Ferraris in the Bachman collection, which led up to the sale of the Bianco Speciale. So we invite you to sit back and enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Ferrari Marketplace, Grand Tour Motorsports, Motor Historian, and Motorcopia. We got the whole crew here. We're at MECUM's Kissimmee sale, and we are getting ready to start firing out the Bachman collection, but there's a teaser. There is a, what year is this, Testarossa?
It is a 87 Testarossa.
87 Testarossa is going to kind of start the fireworks here. I'm trying to do commentary across the board on the whole Bachman collection, and then we'll get to the PTO, but here we go. Testarossa coming up.
All right, so John, you brought up a really good question. You just said flying mirror, and I've heard the single specchio and all that kind of stuff, which that makes sense. One mirror on one side of the car. What's the flying mirror? Is that the two mirrors?
It's 85, 86, first 87 when they went to the two mirrors, but it's just a single high mirror on the driver's side. That's it. That's monospecchio, or however you want to pronounce it. Hence, so they call it the flying mirror. For a long time, those were poo-pooed. No one liked them.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, everyone wanted them because they were more rare than the standard ones.
I love it when people realize how cool or interesting or rare something is that was once unloved. The redheaded stepchild, right. Now it's in flavor. It keeps things interesting.
The other thing with these Testarossas is the early ones had center lock wheels, and then the later ones had traditional 5-lock, and that center lock thing was something that wasn't desirable at first, but subsequently has become something that people really look for.
Oh yeah, every Porsche owner today wants center lock wheels. Who wants to have 5 bolts to take off?
Somebody doesn't want their wheels to fall off when they're driving down the street.
$260K for the Testarossa.
So $260K, Dave, that's well above your algorithmic average for these cars. So are you thinking there's a growth in the Testarossa market right now?
There's a pop, and it's
$312,000 with fees.
It's palpable because, and I'd have to say, we've been discussing this earlier, I think it's because of all the capital that's floating around right now looking for a home. And people are going back and looking at what they wanted back in the day. Now they might have the money, and now they're ready to roll and pull the trigger and get what they wanted from the poster in the 80s.
That car had only done 1,600 miles as well.
So it needs everything, is what you're saying?
It needs a full belt service.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, David, what was the production numbers on Testarossas? Not TRs and M, just the Testarossa itself.
I think they were 7,100 and some odd, about 7,200 in all. Definitely a successful production model, if you can call that a production number for Ferrari. That's significant. But the cultural significance, I think maybe people are just going back and just saying this is a great car, they're easy to drive, they're brilliant performers, and I wanted one back when I was a kid, and now I can get one.
So Dave, when you go back to the office and you take a look at your test case of the Testarossa for Motorcopia, how are you going to have to adjust?
Just going to have to plug in the latest sales results, and these rung the bell. This is amazing. This car went for almost for $100,000 more than the top estimate that I had before, based on sales data, based on the culture, based on the macro data for the economy and politics and all that. These cars, I think they've always enjoyed strong demand, but I think that people are now, they've got money again. That tells me there's money. I don't know where the money's coming from or what country, but I'm wondering if there's international demand for these cars or if it's domestic and people are just saying it's time to have something fun that I've always wanted.
When we look back in the catalog of the MECUM cars that sold, there were a couple other Testarossas that also hammered above 200,000, which is probably a good sign. As we look across the Bachman collection, there's probably a high probability they're all going to be 200,000 and above.
I think that's reasonable. Coming from fastidious collectors that were in the Ferrari community, maybe that provenance, it'd be interesting to see if that provenance gives it an even further bump to the Testarossa.
You're going to have to look at the entire calendar year, because here we're in January at the beginning, so we need to see if it carries through the entire rest of the auction season.
Exactly. It'll be interesting to see if this actually does carry through. It seems like there's a lot of exuberance, positivity. The stadium's almost full. This seems to me like we're back to, record-setting numbers again.
It used to be that set the tone for pricing for the year. Are we feeling like now maybe MECUM and Kissimmee are doing that?
Yeah, I think MECUM Kissimmee is displacing the traditional catalog type players and the other events like Scottsdale and Amelia. But it'd be interesting to see, again, does this carry through to the next two events? And if so, then we're going to have a banger of a Monterey, barring any black swan situations, which are always out there.
So do you think it's going to be buy low, sell high? Let's say this is the low. They're buying them now in January, taking them to Car Week and trying to make more money there. Is that a possible strategy?
There's always a possibility of arbitrage and going to other events. I would love to be a fly on the wall as to whoever takes this Testarossa home to see whether or not it's a cherished keepsake, something they're going to enjoy and show, or are they going to just be flipping the thing?
Right. There's never the VH1 where are they now moment with these cars. It's a moment on the block and then they're gone and you may never see them again.
Exactly. That's why I like to always copy down VIN numbers and chassis numbers, because I like to track them. Now, this 69 L88 coupe, I know the Roadsters and the 67s are far more rare and stuff like that, but $310,000 for an L88, one of 116, that's a bargain.
Well, we are 2 Corvettes away from the Bachman collection, so we are just rounding out the end of what muscle car alley here.
Yeah, this is like the 6th Yenko Camaro we've seen, and we just saw the prototype Yenko Camaro across the lot for $1.7 million, which kind of knocked me flat on my ass.
Yeah, absolutely insane.
Oh, the Yenkos are having a record day today. This 69, 450 already, just when the calling started.
Before Don Yenko was putting 427s in Camaros, there was a dealership in LA called Dana Chevrolet who were doing exactly the same thing. And it's always confusing to me why Yenko is the guy that's got all the reputation and why Dana Chevrolet are kind of forgotten.
I think it's because Don Yenko is responsible for initiating the COPO program at Chevrolet with their internal office in order to get these cars even built so that they could be updated and customized at the dealer level. And I think that might be the heritage. Plus, he's an immensely successful SCCA racer in the 60s. I'm wondering if that's that glow that's causing that bump in value. However, if you're looking for something like that, as potent but more rare than one that came out of Dana or Berger in Detroit or any other dealer that was part of that program like Nicky, then you've got something even cooler as far as I'm concerned, with all that heritage.
Would a Berger or a Dana car make as much as we've seen these Yenkos make?
You know what, I've got to take a look. There'd be a lot fewer of them. You know what, that's a possibility just due to rarity. They were all kind of developed the same way, and I think Dick Harrell had something to do with them early on. There's a sort of a commonality and then a little bit of a rarity differentiator, so it'd be interesting to see how those cars perform.
So for the European enthusiasts that know Yenko the man, what does COPO stand for?
Corporate Office Production Order. It's like a arcane, nerd-level fleet ordering system that Chevrolet used.
Okay.
Was it taxis, police cars, emergency vehicles would have all been ordered through a fleet ordering system to streamline the process and then maximize efficiency. But Vince Pagans was the brains behind the dominance of Hudson in NASCAR in the early 50s. And he was Chevy's product promotion and an engineer that really worked the COPO program with Don Yenko to make it all happen and put Chevy back on top. They were taking a beating in relation to the Hemi cars that Chrysler was building. They were building race cars for this, that you couldn't really buy them for the street, but what was considered a street car, like the 68 Hemi Dart, sorry, that's not a street car. Right. They even came with disclaimer cards all over them saying, but the idea was make a streetable car that's street legal that Chevrolet could kick out the door, and then they could be back in the limelight. So,
well, gentlemen, we are one car away from the beginning of the Bachman collection, which is kicking off with what looks like a his and hers Alfa Romeo 8C combination, both a Spider and a coupe. So really curious to see what those hammer for, but then we will dive deep for 44 more cars after that.
Love
in
it.
The world of Ferrari.
Yeah, this is like being a kid in a candy store. I remember being a kid and you couldn't give a split window coupe away, but now people are recognizing how cool they were, how 1 year only, and
I will say the stands are filling in. When we got here earlier, it was a little bit thinner, but we are kind of at high tide at the moment.
it's exciting. It also shows how much interest there is in this market. It's a show, it's an auction, it's an experience.
It certainly is an experience, just walking around outside with the Floridian crowds. My word, you see some sights. Not least that Garwood Miss America 8 boat with its
that was pretty cool.
Miller V16
Can you imagine building a boat, a beautiful wood-hulled speedboat back then, and two custom-built, two-order V16 Miller engines? I mean, it's music when it runs.
It is peak hot rod.
Absolutely.
Garwood made his money inventing the hydraulic press, and the reason he made a lot of money was coal wagons didn't have a hydraulic press. You used to have to shove.
I did not know that. And what an industrial leap. Imagine that, just to reduce the workload required to move that coal. It's amazing. But that's seeing an opportunity and making it work and then reaping the spoils.
All right, we have an interesting break in the flow of cars at the moment as we transition over to the Bachman collection. They've been one after the other for hours now. It's sort of like, where are the cars? Are they going to do a special presentation? Oh, we're doing a little bit of Automobilia. Signed photograph of Mario Andretti winning the 12 Hours of Sebring.
Oh, that's cool. There's something for everybody here. It's like the last Foo Fighters concert I was at. You go through waves and then you reach a crescendo near the end. And then it goes 2 levels higher. So it'll be interesting to see how the day progresses.
That's Bill Warner up there
that's
on stage.
Cool. I think you're right. I think that's really cool.
Judges for elegance and positive point scoring, not the pepper system where you have 100 points and you should double the fault. I think it's really awesome. It's a different kind of philosophy. It's about positivity, not about deducting for a scratch or a stone.
Right.
That's a paradigm shift is what it was. And Amelia Island's been considered the Pebble Beach of the East Coast, right?
Yeah, and I've had the distinct privilege of meeting Bill several times. I've interviewed him on the show before. He's a wealth of information. He's always a yes when you want to, hey, Bill, can you tell me another story about this? Or what was it like doing that? He's a fascinating gentleman, and he's got a couple books out, too. He's an author. I mean, he's a noted author.
Right on.
So great opportunity to look him up. And I think a bunch of his books are on Amazon. And not only that, the proceeds of the books go to the Spina Bifida Foundation in Jacksonville, which he's a big part of. So, great way to give back, especially if you want to add a coffee table book to your collection at home.
I had a dinner with him one day. We started out talking about high-end stuff in the Ferrari. By the end of the conversation, we were talking about Camaros and how much we love them. Because we raised
He's one of the reasons why I'm building out my road and track collection, because of his coverage and his photography.
I can't believe 60 grand for a photograph.
From your vantage point, Dave, can you see the cars, or are we still dealing with memorabilia?
We're still
memorabilia.
Sign now, and then the cars.
It's a great time window to shift direction slightly and bring these great collectibles out too.
But what do people do with these kind of collectibles, guys? What do they actually do? Do you just put them up in your garage? Do you have them as an investment? Like, they're a peculiar thing to me.
I think there's a whole market for what they call automobilia. But to your point, you have to have the space to be able to use it for decoration. Because if you've ever seen, let's say, a traffic signal in person, they look so small when you're in the car. They're massive
The
to
reality,
be able to be seen, right? And so these dealership signs are absolutely just huge. They take up a ton of space. So you have to have the right garage, warehouse, airport hangar, or whatever it is to be able to put it. Now, granted, that's the premise behind Garage Style Magazine is how can you take this sort of stuff and then decorate your garage and make it your garage mahal, let's just call it that. So I think there's a market for it. Sometimes I wish I could have this kind of stuff.
It's almost more about interior design than automobility, isn't it?
Now, they can be a little problematic. Dealers like brand signs like this. I know BMW, they actually litigated against a car dealer that wasn't a BMW dealer but had an illuminated BMW dealer sign. This is about 2004. And it was quite an interesting case. But I think if it's for personal use, I don't think anybody can quibble with that.
I mean, if we put it into perspective, I mean, look at those gentlemen that are standing by the Buick neon dealership sign over there. I mean, that guy's probably, 6 foot tall? He comes up between the C and the K. That's a big sign. You need a real building to put that on.
Oh, yeah. It's a Ferrari sign, 28,000, the Hammer.
Oh, they turned the lights off.
Okay, change in focus. Bachman collection coming
Oh,
up.
we're going to watch a movie. Okay.
Gosh, I like this dramatic build-up.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention please. It is MECUM Auction extraordinary this offering for your bidding pleasure. The fifth and Martin Bachman Ferrari collection. Let's get to it.
Here we go. All cars in the Bachman collection, no reserve.
Never seen them do that before where they dim the light to do the intro. Well, this is interesting. We've got two Alfa Romeo 8Cs here, a yellow one and a red one. It's been interesting to me all the way through the event how they've stacked the same cars alongside each other so that you can, as a potential buyer, make comparisons between them.
Or buy the pair.
I like it. You've got the convertible and the coupe. Why not get both?
I mean, we joked about these cars. Why are they here? This doesn't make sense. And the consensus is, well, underneath the skin, they're really Ferrari. So it makes total sense that they're here in the collection. I mean, they're more modern cars, too. Probably some of the later acquisitions that Phil and Martha made. But, they're a handsome car. I personally like them in a slightly darker tone, a blue or a dark gray or black, especially. I think it wears black really, really well. But, for the discerning buyer, yellow is interesting.
What was the feeling at the time? What were they like to drive?
I would love to drive one. I think they'd probably be just amazing, considering how they're powered and how they're engineered.
For my money, though, I feel as though this is in the same realm as the Maserati Coupe, the Ferrari-powered Maserati, but also, if you draw a parallel to BMW, this is like the Z8. And for my money, I actually want the 4C, which is a little bit more like Z4 territory than Z8 territory. You know what I mean? There's a bit of a mystique around these 8Cs that actually, for me, is a little bit off-putting.
On the other hand, I think it represents the precise moment when, as I understand the corporate structure, FCA started really celebrating its heritage and branching out to cars like the 8C, bringing them to life, the 4C, and then branching out to cars that are more production-oriented.
That FCA relationship with the Viper and the 8C is based on the same chassis. I think the other thing I add is people make it like that 8C stand for
Cylinders, yeah.
Just like the 30s. Again, celebrating heritage, just like the 8C cars of the 30s.
Don't you think the coupe is worth more than the convertible?
I would think the convertible, because it's they were less built, fewer built, I mean.
Although I think the red is a much more appealing color than the yellow for me.
Oh, it looks so right on that car, on that coupe.
Of course, the red was a far more common color. When I think of an Alfa 8C, I think of it in red. think, Eric, to your point about comparing with the 4C, to me the 4C is something like a Porsche Boxster, whereas this is far more like a Ferrari 550. This is a Grand Tourer, front-engine Grand Tourer, not a mid-engine sports car.
So the open air premium holds in Florida.
94 Ferrari 512 TR.
512 TR and 512M. What is the difference between them, David? Do you know?
This is funny. I used to have this on the top of my head, but
William probably knows.
What?
The difference between the TR and the M.
Well, the big thing is the front headlights. It's just more refined, it's got a little more power. It's a little wider. And he's kind of beefed it up for the last go around for it. So it looks a love or hate because it's just some people don't like those open headlights. But
I'm in that camp.
I prefer the TR over the 512M.
it sort of echoes the 348 a little bit too, for a little family resemblance, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Aren't these the final evolution of that Fat 12 line that started way back in the early 70s with the 365 and moved through the Berlinetta boxer cars, and then finally we had these 512s at the end, and my understanding is that these of the group were probably the best to drive.
Fabulous heritage.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
As I understand, easy to use, easy to drive, good visibility, at least out the front and the sides, and lots of performance.
I think rarer than the Testarossas as well.
That's right.
That is such a clean design, and when you compare it to the 84s, the very first ones, it's so much more refined. But you don't lose the strakes. The strakes are the most important part.
And a very distinctive Pininfarina design, in that Pininfarina designs tend to be a couple of simple lines, in contrast to, for example, Vignale tend to do very complicated, often quite challenging shapes, or Zagato less so, but they have a similar kind of styling aesthetic, whereas Pininfarina here, a few simple clean lines, super elegant.
That's right. And the side strakes, I mean, people kind of found them controversial, but I mean, they were an aerodynamic solution to venting the cool air into the radiators.
I think that's a little bit the same as the Cadillac's 59 Cadillac's fins with the stability.
Stabilizing at speed, yeah. And actually, the Chrysler 300F in 1960, they set a bunch of speed records at Bonneville with it, and the fins did enhance lateral stability.
Well, and it did on the Jaguar D-Type as well.
Yes.
So maybe there is something to it.
That's right.
We're more than double that Testarossa, and that Testarossa did over its estimate. I mean, this is remarkable.
Wow.
All right, here's one of the Fab Five. We got a 288 GTO up on the block with a whopping 2,000 kilometers. What's that in miles? Dave, you're Canadian.
Yeah, I think that's 1,600 or 50. Yep, that's right.
Lightly used.
Just ever so slightly.
But isn't this car significant because it's the first of Ferrari's real halo cars that have led us down the road to the, through the Enzo to the LaFerrari. This is the first of those real supercars, and although it looks like a 308 with extra spotlights and a body kit on it, in fact there was a lot more development work done, was there not?
There was, and more importantly, this is a longitudinal orientation for the motor, which is a step away from some of the other designs that they've used with the transverse engines, but it also is the door that opened for the F40, because when you reskin a 288, that's what you end up with. It's basically a wide body, almost Le Mans prototype is where the F40 lands.
Oh, wow. 7 million.
We're already at 7 million.
Seconds into the bidding.
What have these been selling for?
4 to 6 range.
Or double that.
Yeah, I mean, again, one owner, 2,000 kilometers. I mean, come on.
And that's the power of a single owner, long-term ownership provenance.
air horn, don't you? You feel like I'm at a soccer game. Anybody have a cowbell, like they use in skiing?
What we might be witnessing here is somewhat of a paradigm shift in terms of what qualified bidders are willing to commit and are willing to step up. It's kind of setting new marks for this year.
The uncertainty in the economy at the moment, it's astonishing to me that we should be seeing a record price like this.
And it's uncertainty for some and not for all. We're seeing a stratification right here. Right here is physical manifestation of it.
You were saying you thought the one owner thing was very important with this car.
That's right.
It's one owner and the Bachman provenance, because that's going to mean that your GTO, your 288 GTO, always stands out from anybody else's.
Yeah, there could be differences, absolutely, and then also depending on mileage, condition. But I think a single owner grouping. There you go, $8 million.
Car that saved Ferrari, Eric, the 308. You keep saying that. This is the car that saved Ferrari. Why was that?
Because it's the most mass-produced Ferrari ever, and it came at a time where Ferrari was in transition from, the cars of the 60s and the 365s and the 512s and all these other things. They were even being produced in the early 70s, but they weren't selling well, right? You had the Dino 246 that didn't really sell that well. You had a lot of, we're not doing well, and the economy wasn't great in the 70s, and you had post-war Vietnam, a lot of things. Now, granted, this car gained a ton of popularity thanks to the hit show with Tom Selleck, Magnum PI, but at the end, the 308 forced Ferrari to go into mass production to not only fuel the racing program through the 70s, but to keep the company afloat. So, William, how many 308s did they build in its 7-8 year time span? Tens and tens of thousands of them.
30 to 40,000?
It's a lot.
Maybe, something like that.
And then that carries on into the 328s, a couple of years later. So long life and a long purpose, but it's a very popular car. Maybe not the poster on the wall car like the Testarossa is, but it's the cheap version of the car you couldn't really get at that time.
The body lines are supremely, they're beautiful. You know what? 3-liter V8 mid-engine. This looks like the car that the Dino could have been earlier on.
Well, the Dino's the precursor to it, right? So.
Absolutely.
I think the 308 appeared as early as 1969. I think the shape was penned very, very early, long before production. And of course, the early cars were fiberglass, or vitricino is the Italian term for it. And absurdly, the plastic fantastics are worth more than the steel ones because of rarity.
Well, you consider the plastic ones or the fiberglass ones, carbon Kevlar, whatever they were using back then, they're the lightweights, right? Versus the steel cars are heavier. So if you're going for performance and you want to eke out as much as you can, you want the lightweight 308. Now, granted, the early cars are carbureted versus the 4-valve head, later fuel-injected cars, which would make more power. So in the end, is it a wash, power-to-weight ratio? Probably.
Yes, fully, because my understanding is that the QV head and the 3.2 only came in to offset the performance loss that was as a result of emissions
in the 328. Yes, absolutely. And I got a chance to actually autocross the 328. I get to drive it as well, and I've never been in a V8 that is so happy to live its life at the top end of the RPM band. It's an absolutely brilliant engine.
It must have been great for autocross because they feel like little sports cars. All the weights at the back.
100%.
I love the styling heritage that goes with these cars.
The TV production crew wanted to use a Porsche 928, but Porsche refused to cut the roof off. So they went to Ferrari instead, and the rest history.
I mean, Tom Selleck barely fit in a 308. I can't imagine him fitting in a 928. So now we have a 365, John. So we were talking about this yesterday in preparation. When you look at it from afar and you don't know any better, you go, oh, that's just another Berlinetta Boxer. But it's not a 512 BB. It's the precursor, right?
Yes, absolutely. And the 365 designation is the cubic capacity of each one of the 12 cylinders.
This is the gray market delight of doctors, lawyers, successful dental practitioners, academics, anybody that had a sporting bent and available capital, and they weren't afraid to wait for it to be federalized.
And again, this is the car that gave way to something like the 288 GTO, because you can see the body lines in its design. Now, there's a couple other cars that share similar design language. We could talk about the 037 and the Lancia Beta, Monte Carlo, and things like that. They're very, very similar, even though those are, I think, Bertone designs. But you see that wedgy 70s Italian, they're all kind of going in the same direction. But what this car was the genesis of is pretty incredible.
This was a space age. I mean,
Wrong money.
Yeah, and I think if you speak to Ferrari purists, although the later BBs may have had more power, these early ones were so light and delicate to drive without the safety or emission stuff that came through the 70s and into the 80s.
Well, it's funny you mention that, because I had the opportunity a couple of years back to interview John Warner IV, and one of his daily drivers was a 512 BB, and I asked about it, during a meetup one time. I said, John, what was it like to drive a Berlinetta Boxster? And he's like, it's an absolute widowmaker, an absolute nightmare in some respects to drive. They're very twitchy, they're very unpredictable, and he's owned all sorts of crazy cars, Panteras and all sorts of things. But he was like, the 512 is one of those cars that puts the hair on your chest.
Well, isn't there something weird about the engine being on top of the transaxle? So the handling somewhat compromised because of the height of the engine.
the thing about the Berliner Boxer, I mean, all the iterations, it wasn't so long ago, those were 135K car.
Now here is the car that was on my bedroom wall as a kid. This, for me, is still a gorgeous car. It's an ultimate supercar. It's beautiful from every
You're in your 40s, Eric, that's why. If you were older than that, you wouldn't feel like that about the F40. But it is the up-and-coming car, isn't it, the F40?
But I don't understand people that like the F50. I'm just going to come out and say it right now.
Seconds into bidding, we're at 7 million, add 3 zeros.
6.5.
Oh, sorry, 6.5.
My understanding was these were $2 or $3 million cars. We're just at 6.5. Is this one ownership thing? Is it the low mileage thing? Or are we just seeing
456 documented miles.
Oh, the Bachmans took factory delivery in 1992.
I don't think there's F40s in the Ferrari Museum that have less miles than this.
On the one hand, that's great, and on the other hand, that's a sad thing.
It needs everything. That's what I keep saying.
At the same time, I'm glad that there's folk like Phil Bachman preserving cars, because there's too many folk like me who just drive the cojones out of them and then they're worn out.
Yeah.
But you've had a good time in the process, and you reduced the cost per mile.
You have reduced the cost per mile, yes.
Let's not forget that.
You know what I would give for a black F40? I'm just going to say that right now.
Well, there is that mint-coloured one, isn't there? Which really makes you stand out. If you own that mint-coloured F40, everyone knows it's your car.
There was one recently redone or repainted or rehabbed or whatever. It is a light blue, like metallic. It is gorgeous in that color.
That has to be a market-setting record right there. All right, so very early 308 GTP here with fiberglass body.
You guys are the last US one, right?
One of the last, yeah.
Now this 308 GTB is a Vetro Resina, is that correct? A fiberglass body?
Yeah, this is a
And only 9,931 miles. The 8th example produced.
The thing that people always say about these is they need a belt service either every 3 years or 30,000 miles or whatever it is, and how that's a bit of a pain in the bottom. But of course, the car was designed to have the engine lifted out and have those belts done. So it's not even that challenging. That's my understanding.
So the beginning of the line here, fiberglass body. Clean GTB body.
I I'm sort of the opinion that if you offered me a 308, I would take it.
Oh,
And I would probably be happier if it was the one that had 100,000 miles on it. Because I knew it was driven, I know it was loved, and it had to be maintained in order to get there.
No.
You don't think so?
Yes, for me, the living, breathing car is far more appealing than the garage queen, low mileage special. But you know, this is what Phil Bachman used to say, isn't it? When people used to say to him, drive the cars, dude, he would say, you enjoy the cars your way and I'll enjoy them my way.
Negotiation in there about dealing with the fees and stuff. I was outside and some people were chatting, and like one older gentleman asked this younger gentleman, it was probably around our age, but the older gentleman was probably in the 70s. So, what do you think the total thing's worth? And the guy was like, oh, I don't know, probably around 50 million. I turned around and said, you're way off. 5 of the cars total will go for that.
Yeah.
It should break 100 million total, at least get close.
Well, we can add it up afterwards and find out roughly.
Taking a ballpark to say 12% total in fees, you know, maybe they negotiate a little better rate stuff. Even just doing that will get, you know, that's still impressive.
Yeah. So now we got another Testarossa for your books here. This is way out of the ballpark, isn't it, Dave?
Totally.
Why are we at half a million?
Odometer reads 257 miles. 257 miles.
There you go.
Interesting aside, Daryl Greenemeyer, the late Daryl Greenemeyer, former SR-71 pilot, holds bought this car new, he holds the piston-powered world record that has yet to be unbroken since 1969. 483 miles an hour in a Grumman Bearcat.
Wow.
So this was his car new.
So, Dave, when you go back and do your analysis on the Testarossas, does this car suddenly become an outlier at $600,000?
Absolutely.
So it's almost off the table.
Is it the provenance? I mean, is it, you know...
Not only original owner provenance, but also Bachman provenance, low mileage. It's just ticking all the boxes. But Testarossas are entering a new paradigm right now.
Yes,
625.
yeah, it wasn't that long ago at Monterey. I sat in a black car that was estimated to make 90 grand and thought, oh, I might even be able to get there, but 650, I don't think I can get there.
It'll remain to be seen at the next round of auctions, January, March. And then Monterey, have we entered a new era for these cars, and a new expectation, or is it just simply a function of a perfect alignment of the planets? Money supply, exuberance, people appreciating these cars, and also the presentation of them as one single collection.
I love the plexi nose on this Daytona that we've got on the block at the moment. What's the premium? Is there a significant premium for cars with the plexi nose?
I think it's rarity and early production status. There was a time they weren't as much in vogue as they are now. If you're collecting Ferraris and you like the Daytona, then an early one should be in your collection. Again, it's money chasing rarity and first of the line status.
I mean, I'm going to be the detractor here. I've said it before on our drive-through news program when these cars just happen to come up every now and again. I am not a fan of the shape of these cars. I mean, I get the whole Miami Vice thing. You know, they did use these on Miami Vice in the early seasons versus the Testarossa later, but I don't get it.
Well, a story about Miami Vice was the original, the Daytona in Miami Vice was a replica. It was a Corvette on a replica chassis. Ferrari himself was a fan of the show, contacted the production company and said, I will give you a car for next season as long as that black replica meets a horrible end. Well, it does. It burns up. Sonny Crockett fakes his own death in one episode, crashes the car and it burns. Hence the white Testarossa.
To the Daytona, it was not intended as a race car, and yet I think it earned second in the 24 Hours of Daytona in 1979, 625.
That Daytona just hit, what, 550, I think, or something?
I've got 625.
So we've 79 308 on the block now. So super rare colour here. Never even seen this colour on a Ferrari before. How much is that going to add to value or to interest?
To a 308 fan like me, dollar for dollar, I would love to have one that's not in Rosso.
What you're not able to see when you're watching this on television is the actual color of the car. This is a very, very gray car with a green undertone, but on television it presents itself as very green. Now there is a green color for 308s, which is really, really nice. And there was actually, to use a Magnum PI reference, there was an episode where they actually featured a green 308 on there that Carol Burnett drove. And the story goes that Tom Selleck was in the shop and they brought the green around, all this kind of thing. This is not that color. This is a gray that you're seeing here.
You know what? You'd have to show me a bad color on the 308. I'm sorry. I just think that car...
They wear pretty much every color well.
That is just gorgeous, and I love it that apparently it's the first 308 produced in that color combination.
So isn't this we now have a 550 Barchetta crossing the block? Isn't this a case of you give the punters less and charge them more, you cut the roof off and charge them more money for it?
That's the Porsche formula, right? Take something away and charge more for it. I love some 550, 575. Not a fan of the convertible, and I'm going to say it, I'll probably say it again during this broadcast. I don't like yellow.
It's all in the eye of the beholder, Eric.
I don't think the 550 wears yellow well. That's my point. Corvettes wear yellow excellently. Yeah. The 911 looks really good yellow.
Muscle cars like yellow.
Yeah, this body shape does not lend itself well to yellow.
No, sadly, it doesn't roll off the tongue like, say, red Barchetta from Rush.
Yeah.
I wonder what Neil Peart would have done, but you know what? I'll take a yellow Ferrari any day. I don't care. We're at 1.1 already.
For a 550.
These look really good in that gunmetal grey.
Yes,
they do.
Gunmetal grey, and they look really good in that
color. And the dark blue that the 456s came in is really, really nice as well.
When I worked at EMC in the dot-com boom, my boss was Rookie of the Year, and with her bonus, just her bonus, she bought a new 550. And sat in it in the garage one time at her house.
You know, I love the exuberance of those days as a bystander. I was in banking and financial services, and just hearing about the stories like that, and then getting the inside baseball of the tech Silicon Valley scene from you, John. That's fun.
How many other Grand Tours did we cut the roof off of?
Ferrari?
Can you think of? No, design-wise, not Ferraris in general, but like we talked about before, you wouldn't cut the roof off a 928 because this is the sort of class of car that the 550 is in. So can we think of any other, maybe some Astons where we cut the roof off?
XJS Jaguars.
Yes.
There's not many in that class where you take a Grand Tour and make them a cabriolet.
You're making me think of that traditional British term, the drop-head coupe, or drop-head coupe. That it's almost that kind of, as opposed to a true roadster, a drop-head coupe has like the folding roof, so it can be a little more formal.
Right. Here we go, another Halo car.
So I teach a class at a prominent West Coast university each year, and I had a student a couple of years ago pull one of these cars up in a presentation he was doing as an illustration of design that's 20 years old that has moved onward and upward. Now for me, I was really not sure about these Enzos when they first came out. As the years have gone by, I've really begun to appreciate how they represent what Ferrari was doing in Formula One at the time. The high nose, like the anhedral nose that was on contemporary Formula One cars. But my question for you guys is, how has the Enzo shape stood up over the decades?
I don't think it's aged well, John. It looks very early 2000s. It is, to your point, mimicking the Formula One cars of that era. and it's just sort of stuck in time. Versus a car like, let's say, the Audi R8 or the third gen RX-7 or other more fluid designs, you can't put a date on them. This car, in my opinion, is very dated, especially when you compare it to things like the LaFerrari and things that came after it. But it is a step away. If you keep it in the same lineage as the F40 and the F50 and the cars before it, it's very different, right? It's very much more the Batmobile.
Here it goes.
Yeah, definitely those top-of-the-range Ferrari sort of hypercars from the days of the 288 that basically look like a Hot Rod 308. This is something completely different in terms of
Order new by the
visual
Bachmans.
messaging.
Personalized at the factory for the Bachmans who ordered it new. 645 miles. We're already asking for 10.5. 10,500,000.
None of these supercars do very high mileages.
Unfortunately,
It
no.
would be very hard to find a Camaro or a Mustang with miles this low. But surely there are other F50s out there that have miles that are this low that might be able to command this kind of massive
barely
premium.
used.
Well, let's put a ribbon around that, right? Where do you drive an Enzo where you can actually enjoy it?
There better not be any speed bumps in your neighborhood. We've broken through to the other side, as Jim Morrison of the Doors would sing. We're asking for $12 million on this car now.
This is a record, isn't it?
I believe it might be. I'd have to go back and check, but this is exciting.
We talked before we came on air about how there's a momentum around auctions and how if one car early in the auction underperforms, that can lead to underperformance in other cars. We seem to be experiencing the opposite effect here. There seems to be a flywheel effect of very high prices.
In a collection of this size and magnitude, anybody who's bidding probably has agents in the field that are doing the bidding for them. They've probably researched these cars thoroughly, inspected them. Any bidding here would not be a surprise, and unless it comes down to who really wants the car at the end of it all. But I think a lot of research has been done.
12, 12, 35,
They're pushing right now. There's this hush that has come over the audience as they're pushing the number.
12, 5, 12, 3, 12, 4. Yes, everybody else. 12, 3, 12, 400. Ask anybody else. Last call. 12, 5, 12, 5, 12, 6, 12,
Wow.
6,
Asking for 12.6 now.
12, 5, 12, 13.
Wow.
Asking $13 million.
You know what they say, that there only needs to be two people in the audience who really want it.
Yeah, right. 13 million.
12, 7.
Motivated seller and two willing bidders. That's all you need.
I mean, we haven't even gotten to the Bianco Speciale yet, and we're seeing history being created right in front of us.
Yeah, the whole pricing curve for all these cars is brand new.
13 million, 13 million, 12, 7, 13 million, 12, 7.
Yesterday when we were walking around, we were talking about whether it really made sense for the Bachman collection to be at MECUM and whether or not it should be a standalone event.
Asking
Whether or not it
$13
should
million now.
it should have been handled by perhaps one of the other auction companies. Well, I think we can confirm that this probably has been the right environment for the Bachman collection to be sold.
Yeah, for sure.
This has turned out to be a great move to bring this collection here. The stadium's full. There's excitement everywhere. Positive atmosphere. The money is here.
Yeah, and we're still grinding up 13,250 asking now.
Yeah, they're not letting go of this. any fear of speed on the auction block is unfounded.
Well, and the hilarious part is right behind this is also a super ultra rare FXX. So we've got two heavy hitters back to back.
Love it. And they're both yellow, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, there's a lot of yellow in this collection, Dave.
You know what? I find it refreshing. And Florida's the Sunshine State, and this looks like the color that we need here.
You know, if you like mustard more than ketchup, I get it. It's okay. I'm apt to put both on my hot dog, you know?
I love both condiments, absolutely. I'm with you.
John's more of a chili man, you know?
Oh, that's delicious too. We're asking $14 million right now for this no reserve Ferrari Enzo. Ordered new by the Bachmans, customized at the factory to their specification. So this is safe to say this is a singular example of the ultra rare Enzo, and it is going into the stratosphere.
The ink on my pen is going to run dry before we finalize this bid, I think.
I think so. There's still a little bit of juice to extract from this one. This is exciting. I didn't come here to see a dull auction, and this is actually this is better than caffeine.
Yeah, this is really exciting. We just said we felt that maybe the styling wasn't that desirable. It dated badly. Maybe the yellow would hurt the price of it. Well, look at that, 15 million. My God.
I'd have to say this is delicious.
In honor of your recent Schumacher episode, John, I am going to mention that Michael's Enzo was black. Just want to point that out.
Well, I think if I could choose a colour to have in, I'd have mine in black. I like a black Ferrari.
Asking $15 million now on the auction block. We've obviously got two motivated bidders at minimum, but I'd like to know where they are. Are they in the crowd? Are they up near the block? On the phone?
Or is that into $100,000 increments there?
Yeah.
I want to see somebody putting their paddle up. Wow, sold at $15 million. Wait, are they still bidding? Okay, so we've hit $15 million. Now they're going $15,250.
Got it.
$15,250. Come on. Asking $15,500,000 for this one family, one couple.
We are in uncharted territory with Enzo's right now.
Where are the dragons?
Talking about Michael Schumacher's black car. Lord knows what that would be worth.
That's a before or after conversation, John, but we can't have that yet.
Now asking $16 million. They've got $15,500,000, asking $16 million. Wow. $16 million. They have a bid for $16 million.
It's not often I struggle for words, but I'm sort of struggling for words at the moment. I was expecting this to make about $1.5 million or $2 million.
Right?
They've got $16 million in the room.
You know, John, it might have been cheaper to buy everybody a beer in this stadium.
I'm getting chills. I'm having an Enzo moment today. There's a bidder in the room that just made the last highest bid. Okay, 16,500,000 is the ask right now. $16,250,000.
Wow.
I believe it's in the room too.
That's what, 6 million over record, right?
Yeah.
6 million over the previous record. Guess the classic car market's got some legs yet then.
Yeah, does it though? This is that Bitcoin money, John.
I just wish I'd gotten some of that. My God.
It's NVIDIA tech stock cash outs. Now here's a race car, straight up.
Oh, Ferrari.
FXX. I mean,
FXX.
talk about an evolution off of the Enzo.
So wasn't this similar to the Maserati MC12?
Correct.
So which came first? And
I believe the MC12 is older, and then there was the MC20 as well.
This is the only example in yellow.
Are these FXXs street legal, or is it one of these things where you tow to the...
William would know more on these than we do, but I always thought Legend had it. You couldn't actually own an FXX. I thought it was one of the cars that Ferrari would bring to you when you wanted to drive it, and then they would take it back to Maranello and keep it under lock and key. Did they actually sell FXXs? I mean, obviously they sold this one.
Yeah. After 2 years, something happened, or if you were special, they'd let it out of the wild. But normally, I think the plan was that they kept it, maintained it, they would learn to draft the whole 9 yards, but then they kind of got a little more flexible with it.
Yeah. How many FXXs did they make? Not many, right?
No. 25?
Okay, 25 cars.
And can you get it
one in yellow.
Can you get it serviced at your local Ferrari dealership, or does it have to go right the way back to Maranello? I was going to say, will Silicon Valley Ferrari be able to look after mine when I buy it, or, you know?
My guess would be they'd send it to a dealer, they'd fly someone over, maybe.
I mean, that's if you actually drive the thing. Now, I can't imagine an FXX would sell for less than an Enzo. It's way more rare. It's way more capable. I could be wrong.
If it does go for less than the Enzo guy is going to look as if he overpaid.
Yeah. It's sort of stuck at $6 million right now. I mean, it's kind of funny to say that, like, it's monopoly money or something, but yeah, it's just sitting there.
I wonder if the difference in bidding boils down to whether or not this car is actually usable in the wild, in the real world to some extent. Listen to that exhaust.
Oh my goodness. Pure race car.
I'm glad they started it.
So this is some MECUM theatre, isn't it? We leave the engine off until the bidding stalls, and when the bidding stalls, we turn that motor on.
Well, and you also get a little high off the fumes, so you might bid on it, you know.
Sold at 6 million round, is that right?
6 million flat.
Interesting.
The Ferrari 360. Now this example's a Challenge Stradale, and I for one would love to have a go in one of these, because the first Ferrari I ever drove was a 360 standard car at Thruxton, the circuit in England, and it understeered.
Oh my
I got
God.
pushed at 100 miles an hour through turns.
to
I
that
was so disappointed
FXX exhaust.
Ferrari would do that, and I want to try one of these Challenge Stradales to make sure they don't do that.
William, would you be able to tell me, is the FXX actually road legal here?
Yeah.
Wow, road legal race car. Just slap some plates on it.
Yeah, it's an awesome car.
Oh my gosh.
John claimed that he made a 360 Northern understeer at Thruxton. And I'm wondering if there's a pattern here. I don't know that it's the car. I believe it might be the driver.
Understeer can
But it
be
is a good
fun.
running joke in the studio, John and his understeering cars.
Yeah, and I should say, offline we were talking about this, and you think I turned in too early, don't you?
I think you early Apex, my friend. You need to go a little later, a little deeper, a little later. And that applies to a lot of things in life. But hey.
What do we make of the red accents on this Challenge Stradale? The red tail panel and the red headlight inserts. What do we make of that?
I'm going to say this. I'm not a fan, but I am a fan of like tinted headlights. But then again, I do harken back to the days of the amber French headlights. I love the yellow headlights on something. I think they just look super cool. And I've done that on a couple of race cars myself, where I'll convert them over to have the French style headlights. The red is just, it's a contrast to the yellow, but to me it makes it feel a little bit too Hot Wheels.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I believe this example has all the kit that was supposed to come be installed for competition, but never was. It comes with the extra features, but this, to my understanding, this car was never used in competition. So
Does it have the roll cage? So does it have the roll cage and everything?
all that does come with the car, to my understanding, in the package of extras.
Okay.
It came with them, and then there was a directive not to install them, and the car was not to be tracked. So you have a real Challenge Stradale. This is actually, not fully fitted out for
Yeah, it was a
competition.
Challenge car that was truly for the Stradale.
Yeah, exactly. True to its name.
Which is funny because I learned through William there's actually a separate manual on how to put together the Challenge package. They walk you through how to install all those components, to include how the roll cage should be welded and where it should be. It's very, very intricate.
So could you take a 360 and retro it into a Challenge Stradale?
Yeah, because it's all bolt-ons. It's sort of a 3 Series BMW morphed into an M3. What's the difference between the two? For a long time, it was bolt-ons, right? So I think the same is very true of these 360s. You can make them cup cars, but do you want to make them authentic cup cars, or do you want to make them aftermarket? And that's where you got to make a decision. Today, getting a hold of a Stradale package that's still in the boxes, that's as rare as the car itself.
Yeah.
The car just did $1 million, which I never would have imagined I would ever see a 360 make $1 million.
And I think that goes straight back to the fact that kit was never, the factory equipment was not put on for competition. And I think it makes this car even more interesting.
Right.
And, the new owner does have a decision to make. And if it were me, I'd covet the equipment, but I would keep it the way it is. I'm that kind of a guy.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, because that yellow with the red light, so distinctive, everybody would know it was your car. And I think for a lot of collectors that's important.
Exactly.
And then I think you run into the problem where if that Challenge Stradale kit is numbers matching to the car, if you're this discerning enthusiast that just bought this one, would you sell it to somebody that wants to do what you want to do, John, which is bolt it into a regular 360 to make it a cup car? Now we've got this weird dilemma because it's a very specific buyer who would want to get that kit. But I think it sort of just lives with the car in perpetuity.
To me, it's similar to a Dodge Demon with the Demon crate. And I'm always looking when I'm looking at a car that's considering a car that needs an auction description, does it come with the Demon crate, and is it And then even at that, hasn't been opened even. And it's sort of like I'd leave it alone like the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
and
you
then,
know what happens when you open that. You've seen the movies, so.
oh yeah. Things that have been set in motion cannot be reversed from that point forward.
So we have this Daytona on the block, the $1 million mark. Looking at the provenance on this, it seems like it was a car that the Bachmans very much used for showing purposes. It seems to have won a number of concours in the past there. Of course, this is a very large part of the Ferrari community. Going to shows, the competition, and if you've ever done any show field judging, you'll know that the Ferrari club has very high standards of judging. I know some of the concours I judge at out on the West Coast. We let the Ferrari guys judge their own class. We judge the rest of it.
432 miles, one of 19 produced in its color combination. You've just got to respect this car, regardless of color. The yellow's interesting. We're at 1,150,000 is the ask.
You know what really stands out to me about the design of this car that I maybe don't notice in some of the other colors. And I've said before, I'm not a big fan of this body style. I think it's that front turn signal that really sort of turns me off. In yellow, it's apparent. It's like this punch up in the eye. I think maybe it was less noticeable with the fiberglass front, like we saw in the previous car.
Interesting.
My feeling around that is, can you see the side marker towards the end there? Eurospec cars do not have those side markers, and for me, it's a small thing, but those side markers are ugly. I would certainly prefer a Eurospec car.
Especially during that time period, in the early 70s when they hadn't introduced the big safety bumpers, all those kinds of things. A lot of that stuff was just bolted on, tacked on. It's like, let's go down to the local trailer supply store and grab some rectangle reflectors and glue them to the side of the car. It looks, I don't know. Luckily, with some dental floss and a heat gun, you can take a lot of that stuff off.
There's 275 behind that one. That's going to be another big number.
Oh yeah. This 575M, 625 miles, the last example, built for the U.S. with the Revochromico roof, I guess, that changes varies its opacity, flips back.
Yeah, I've actually never seen this roof style before. I missed it when we were walking around yesterday. I've never seen this before.
It'd be interesting to know, how that roof mechanism functions. There was a factory patch or fix when owners were having difficulty with it. Great technological leap. These roof designs are being in use today with various manufacturers. It's in yellow. Again, just a super cool, interesting modern Ferrari supercar.
It kind of reminds me in a way of that Shelby Series 1 that we saw yesterday in its body lines. I mean, again, the 550 and 575s, they're handsome Grand Tourers, but once you cut the roof off of them, I'm still trying to just put it together.
You are correct. Yeah, I think that certainly speaks to the era when these cars were designed, developed, and built. Absolutely. It's got that look. Definitely. Similarity to the Series 1.
And so we dive deeper into this roof line. It's not a convertible. It's sort of a Targa, or what we would have called a Targa in the 70s.
Yeah, with a power-operated variable opacity roof.
There is a debate, isn't there, between 550s and 575s, because the 575s were only available with an automatic transmission, whereas the 550s, the earlier cars, were available with a stick. So for me, the 550 is always more desirable than a 575 because of that third pedal.
Especially we're going through the era when there's that transition from the 6-speed and the F1 automatic availability to the F1 automatic only. It would be interesting to see what both flavors of the car of them would be like.
Well, and you know what's really good about this 550, 575 conversation is that William devoted an entire episode to the nuances between the 550, the 575, and which one you should or should not invest in, and opportunities you have to, let's say, modify them, do the manual transmission swap. So if you want to dive a little deeper,
I would take one of those cars all day long because they won't be worth the same as the original cars. I would love a manual converted one. Me, old-fashioned, but this 275 GTB alloy 4-cam car that is crossing the block at the moment is my favourite of the Bachman cars.
Yeah, the best spec, beautiful. From what I understand, am I correct or incorrect? That's one of the last of the really hand-built Ferrari bodies.
I believe that to be true. So that would have been a Scaglietti-bodied car, right?
I believe so. There's a great article in Car and Driver, I believe, from 1967, where the writer sat on a bar stool with a 275 GTB and just considered it visually for about a day, and really could not find one body dimension that matched the one on the other side of the car. Like the differences were minute, but what they came up with at the end was these are hand-built creations and we'll likely never see them again. And isn't that great? And you know what? I don't care if my right rear rocker panel is 1 millimeter off, and if somebody was actually working over a form and beating panels,
because that's craftsmanship, right?
That's craftsmanship, and of course you're going to see that.
Yeah, it's the kind of artisanal craftsmanship that, you know, we love craft bread, and we're ready to pay a premium for handmade, crafted stuff from before the machine age, and cars like this absolutely symbolize that. I would say about these 275s, I asked Ed Gilbertson, who's very well known in the Ferrari community. I asked him he's owned and driven Ferraris for the last 6 or 7 decades. What's his, from a purely driver's perspective, what's the best Ferrari you've ever owned? And he said a 2-cam 275, because the 4-cams did not make a lot more power than the 2-cams and were a lot more difficult to maintain. So for him, the best driving Ferrari, price no object, a 2-cam 275. No doubt with a steel body, right? Because those alloy body ones, too expensive, too easy to dent the panels.
Now, I'm not as much a Ferrari historian as, let's say, William is. These were Colombo motors, right, at this point, or had they already evolved past that point?
I believe they were.
Yeah.
That's a good price on that.
The whole deal with Colombo and Lampredi motors is really interesting. If you look into
275 GTB4,
the two V12s, both the Colombo and the Lampredi, are available in increasing displacements, and literally when Ferrari was employing Jarno, it was the Colombo motor that was developed, but when he fell out with Colombo and hired Lampredi, it was the Lampredi motor that was developed. Then when Lampredi left, we went back to developing the Colombo. You can tell, looking under the hood, by the spark plug position, whether it's a Colombo or a Lampredi. I forget which one has the plugs high and which one has the plugs low, but that's how you can tell.
Now here's a shape. Here's a Ferrari that I really like. I think these are underappreciated, the Lusos. This is a really pretty car. Now, we've talked about Enzo's daily driver, which is the 330 Super America, right?
332 plus 2.
Right. With that weirdly pentagonal, rear glass thing that it's got going. I don't like it because it takes away from the sleek body shape that you see in the Berlinetta Lusso, because the cars are very similar in design, but this still retains all that curvature, much like a 300 SL, right? To me, it's the Ferrari's version of that. It's a very pretty car.
These are gorgeous cars, and I love the way the frontal treatment looks almost like shark-like, how it protrudes just a little, ever so much, the hood, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful car. And it's glad they've been getting their due for years now, but it's good to see, and we're already at $2 million for the ask.
These are another Ferrari that presents very, very well in silver or black over the traditional red or yellow.
Dark blue as well.
Yes, extraordinarily well in dark blue.
Is there an undesirable color on these cars? They're just so beautiful.
It's not yellow.
You're laying me to waste, but yeah, you know, it's nice to see that a different hue, a different color in the mix. The Rosso Corsa is amazing on any car, on any Ferrari, but there's something more dignified about a color like this.
As we just clip past the $2.3 million moment, I'm reminded of when I was at an auction back in, would have been 2006, something like that, when Steve McQueen's Lusso was sold and made $2.3 million, which at the time people were falling off their chairs at the thought of a Lusso making 2.3.
Yeah, we're back to that era again here. This is great. The stadium's still full. Looking for bidders. The ask is $2.6 million.
I really love this just icy gray. It throws a little bit of blue under these neon lights. Obviously on TV it looks different than it does in person. It's an absolutely gorgeous car.
Yeah, it's a strange effect on TV, isn't it? It looks far more blue in the coverage that we can see in the studio here.
I would have to say, as Ferrari passenger cars go, I mean, we can all sort of lean on the 308 and things like that. This is, in my opinion, one of the best. I really like it.
There's little doubt this is one of the most elegant Ferraris.
This is not the right auctioneer to have doing these cars. The guy's good, but he's not the right person.
Why are you saying that, William?
Because, I mean, it's just, all I can think of is cattle. It's not true, because it's just...
I'm thinking 67 to 72 Chevy C10s coming through, and Blazers. I love them. You love them, but there's a lot of them. And I know there's a schedule, and you know, you got to push them doggies through, but these cars deserve to have, I think, a little more, possibly a little more time. And
well, I feel like we have a little bit of a breathing space at the moment, but this is a car that's, I also feel, is stalled out at the moment. And we've created a breathing space only because it's not at the same level, like maybe as the buying audience that just picked up that Enzo and picked up the FXX, right? That's a different, you know, breed of collector or buyer.
Both these cars coming up. The Lusso and the Barchetta 166.
yeah, well,
Different.
you're right, different collector, and I'd love to know what the demographic, you know, metrics are for the bidder profiles here. Obviously, the company's probably mining that and looking at it, but it'd be interesting to see how the market has shifted. Who's going for the classic, the rare classic era Ferraris? Who's focused on the modern, and who's focused on the supercars?
And here we have the earliest car in the Bachman collection, the 1953 166 MM. Body by Vignale. Usually these 166s, I think, have touring or Pininfarina bodies on them. Noticeable to me, at least as a Vignale lover, is the cutaway spats under the headlights there, the way the body's been cut away. And of course that MM designation refers to the Mille Miglia. And really, you can't talk about Ferrari without thinking about the Mille Miglia, that figure of 8 road race around Italy that ran for so long. Because for Ferrari, this was the use case for his cars. Winning the Mille Miglia was what it was all about. It wasn't about selling lots of cars. It wasn't about even really about Formula One. It became about Formula One after the Mille Miglia ended, but when the Mille Miglia was running, that was what Ferrari was all about, and this car was built for that event.
Yeah. you know what's interesting about the Vignale body, though? When I look at it, if I wasn't in the know or didn't, appreciate these cars for their history and whatnot, I look at it and think British Roadster. I think like AC Bristol. I think in that direction in terms of styling.
The AC Ace was based on the Ferrari 166, and of course the AC Ace was the car that Shelby took and became the Cobra. So the Cobra, styling-wise, is directly related to the Ferrari 166.
What really excites me is how Vignale could craft an elemental competition roadster like a Spider body with vents at the rear, etc., vents at the side, and a tight envelope body, and yet make it look elegant and beautiful. This would be an amazing car on the road if you wanted to tour it, and I believe I see road rally stripes on the side. It looks like Colorado brand, possibly, that Bachman's might have used this car on. And what an amazing way to go through a long distance road tour / rally than in this 166 mm. Beautiful and elegant, and yet at the same time effective.
Would you wear a helmet on the Colorado Grand in this car?
I'd wear a pilot's World War II helmet and aviator goggles.
I'd go like I'd be like a Stig.
I'd want a full head because there's no roll bar.
Yeah,
it's an easy car to turn over.
I mean, look at this guy. He's probably 5 foot something. He sticks way out over the top of that car.
Well, the whole deal with the aero screens was that they were meant. The screen didn't come up to your face. The screen was only designed to throw the air over your head.
Yeah, like a deflector more.
That was low, though. That
was
guy,
it 1.5?
Is that 1.9?
It stalled at 1.5, and then it went up to 2. When did you last see a 50s Ferrari with competition history go for less than $2 million?
It's the audience, right? Now this car, 348, this was always one of my favorites. I felt like it was like the baby Testarossa.
Yeah.
It was the affordable one, right? It had the same layout, V8 powered instead of V12 powered, same look and feel. Obviously the TR, the later 512, looks like a 348. They kind of copied that front end. I really like these. I actually think it wears yellow pretty well, so I feel like a hypocrite saying that, but because you know how I feel about yellow. But
we won't hold that against you, Eric.
The motoring press,
it's fine.
The motoring press at the time didn't rate them. I mean, I'm not sure if I really believe what the motoring press say, but that's what I remember in period, that they weren't as sharp as they might have been. And it wasn't until the 355 came along that they really became great cars to drive.
What disillusioned me with the 355 was that F1 training, with that little joystick thing. And I was like, you got rid of the gated shifter. So immediately I was sort of turned off. Even as a young enthusiast, I was like, that should have a stick shift. That shouldn't have this weird flappy paddle thing. And actually, I feel as though, and maybe it's true to engineering chronology, Ferrari was the first to really start introducing the flappy paddle gearbox into production cars.
Yes, they were, because because when you were buying a Ferrari, you were wanting to get Formula One technology. And the whole flappy paddle gearbox is like a double win, isn't it? I mean, I live in California, and they say the best way to make sure you don't get your car stolen in California is drive a stick shift. Nobody can drive stick anymore.
I have to say, I know Ferrari is known probably primarily for its classic Enzo era V12 cars, but bless them for bifurcating into the mid-engine V8 line and the heritage that they've had since the 70s with that, and continuing in the V12 tradition.
I got to interrupt you, Dave. Coming up is Williams' car. Yeah. We're going to see him put a bid on this 400i, work in progress.
So the 400s are unloved, aren't they? This is a V12. You can get 5-speed ones. V12 Ferrari for what? Under $50,000? You can get driving cars for $50,000.
And seating for 4.
I would not buy one for under $50,000 because that means it's going to leave another about $50,000 worth of work mechanically. So a sweet spot will be about 80 to 100, because then it's been gone through the whole 9 yards, service records. You can drive it for about 3 weeks, then you have to put another 20 grand into it for mechanical. They don't have the best reliability, but I mean, just smooth. I mean, that's just a grand tour right there. I just love it.
People don't like the 3-box shape, and I personally, I think these are really good-looking cars. I like the Daytona nose, and I like the 3-box shape, and I like the fact that there is room in the back seat, because at least that way it is easier to use a car that has a back seat. A 2-seat car you tend not to use because there's no room.
I just love the crisp styling, the body. Look at it, it's already the ask is 100,000.
Priced out right out the gate.
There's still hope. There's still time. So, William, was it the 400 or the 412 that was in Rain Man?
400. I believe.
For the movie nerds out there, one of these cars was a celebrity for 15 minutes.
Yeah. Was that the beginning when they were in the import building? And he had those Countach.
That's what he drove them around in.
Oh, that's right.
Well, he's counting his jelly beans.
I haven't seen that movie in 30 years.
All right, here we have that 512M. I love it or hate it with these headlights. What do you think, John? What do you think? You're the design guy.
I am not a big fan of these particular headlights. I don't like it when on cars like Mazda RX-7s, like FD RX-7s, they change the pop-up lights to being behind the plexi, or they do the sleepy eye lights. I'm just not a fan of that. I feel like I like the Testarossa having the pop-up lights. This isn't a disaster for me, but I prefer the straight.
Au contraire, my friend, I would not throw this car out of my garage for eating crackers. I'll tell you that much.
Okay, but I will say, in the defense of this design idea, the F40 LM looks good with this style of headlight. It just, I don't know, there's something about the shape of the 512 that it doesn't wear it well.
Yeah, I tell you what though, those wheels are awesome with the curved spokes. That is just incredible. The classic Ferrari 5-spoke with a bit of a curve on it. Love it.
But they feel like an answer to Porsche's Turbo Twist. That's what that wheel looks like to me. And actually, because
now you've said that, they spoiled it for me.
You're welcome.
Now I can't unsee it.
But you can. And what's also, if you notice, it's an optical illusion. The wheel is probably 17 inches, maybe 18 inches, but because of the rivets to make it look multi-piece, the wheel still sort of looks like a 15-inch 5-star off of a 308. And with its really high offset being outboard of the car, it looks a little strange. I would want something like a deep-lipped, fixie type of wheel. I know that's very German, but I think it would just look better. It would also maybe make the headlights look better.
Now, we've not talked about the Bachman's relationship with the Ferrari special order programs, have we? But this car's very illustrative of these special order kind of programs that Ferrari did, and the way that the Bachmans worked with Ferrari and had a special relationship with Ferrari to have the cars customized in exactly the way that they wanted. So this guy, yellow over yellow wheels with blue accents, but then there is blue, I want to say pinstriping, is that what we call it, around intakes and strakes? It's what we might say in England, it's a Marmite colour, you either love it or hate it.
Is this color combination, though, the frontal treatment with the blue across the nose and then up the longitudinal stripe, is that a nod to Belgian racing blue, like Jacques Swader's team, Écurie Belgique, and possibly like the original GTO? Isn't there one that had a blue nose treatment like that?
I'm not sure about that, but I think you may be right, because looking at this car yesterday, I found myself thinking, I'm not a fan of the colour combo, but that stripe, I've never seen a stripe where the colour is on the air dam and on the nose of the car, and then it goes to the stripe up over the top.
It looks to me like a Tour de France livery or a 62 to 64 GTO livery, but I could be wrong. It just seems to me like Écurie Francorchamps, I think is what the name of Swader's team was. And I'm wondering if that might be the inspiration somewhat. It's a unique car, unique treatment.
Well, judging by the $3 million that we're at the moment, the unusual colour combination has not put off MECUM's Florida bidders.
And it's different. You'll certainly not be the same as anybody else at a concours or an event. You know what I like about this? The Bachmans had a passion for Ferrari. They truly did, and also the hobby of showing at events. But to be able to go and spec out a brand new Ferrari the way you want it to fulfill your vision with the factory in collaboration, to me, one European delivery in one lifetime of any car would be a thrill. And they did this several times, had cars built to their spec.
By buying one of those cars, you're becoming part of that legacy, which is a really awesome thing.
Absolutely, right from the beginning. You've got that right.
Dave, I mean, I'm with you. Granted, the car that's next in line is a contradiction because it's a different color combination, right? We're going with a yellow with a lime green accent over this yellow and blue. And when I was sort of thinking about it at first, I'm with John in the sense that maybe it's not my cup of Earl Grey, but maybe there's some cultural significance there. Maybe it's the colors of one of the football clubs, or maybe it's part of the logos of one of the polio horses of Siena or something like that. Like, we'd have to dig in a little bit more to the Bachman story to understand why they chose these colors. And unfortunately, maybe over time, much like the Bianco Speciale that we're going to see later this afternoon, it's one of those we may never know.
Exactly, and the thing is, the Bachmans chose these combinations and these options purposefully, with intention, and I'd love to know the significance of these colors. And maybe it's a conversation with somebody at the factory to really nail it down. And I would be open to that at any time. And that's what makes Ferrari ownership and Ferrari culture so fascinating. There's so many unanswered questions in a lot of respects that really somebody knows the answer to.
This one, compared to the blue and yellow one, for me is a challenge to want to have in my collection. As I use the reference, maybe it's a little too Hot Wheels. It's maybe beyond that. It feels like a basketball sneaker.
That's funny, yeah. Well, you know what? This car is a product of its era, too, and that's certainly when things like basketball culture, sneakers, they became kind of couture items. And when you're in that league where you're ordering and personalizing a Ferrari with the factory's personalization department to make a one-of-one bespoke car, again, there's got to be some kind of a cultural significance, personal connection, something. This car is already at a $4 million ask. Again, these cars are all home runs out of the park, I believe. This one is, again, part of the magic.
They really are. Looking yesterday, I looked at these two cars and I thought, just for the sake of the Bachmans, I hope these cars bring more than they would if they were just standard colors and standard whatever. But because it does kind of hurt the eyes a little bit, you know, the yellow and the green there. Again, clearly the Florida audience is lapping up the rarity.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So let me put you in the mind of factory worker Giovanni Sacchetti of Donuts that put this thing together. That's Johnny Bag of Donuts. The American listeners out there that was putting this together, John, what do you think he was thinking when he was stitching together this green interior?
Bloody Americans will buy anything.
Well, isn't that the funny part of Ferrari history, right? If they couldn't sell it, take them to California, because the Californians will buy anything, right?
Well, that's what they used to say. When I worked at the Black Hawk Museum in Danville in Northern California, we had a salmon over grey Ferrari 375, and I used to look at it and think it was the ugliest thing. Then I learned about the 375 motor, and then suddenly I began to think, oh, this is really cool. It looks like the love child of a 57 Chevy and a proper Ferrari, but you know, it's a real proper Ferrari. Yeah, and Chinetti apparently said about that car when it wouldn't sell on the East Coast, you know, just put it out to California, they'll buy anything out there.
Well, somebody just bought this Aperta for $4.5 million. Can you believe that?
I'm going to get my sneakers on. I'd love to tour this. Well, now let's see how the BBI, Ferrari 512 BBI performs against the 365 BB.
Phil and Martha were clearly real lovers of the BB.
Yeah, having what?
Shape, aesthetic, yeah, absolutely.
Now, as I understand it, they were large car dealers. Did they have a Ferrari dealership under their wing too? Would you know?
I don't think so.
Hondas, okay.
Good, reliable cars.
So every CRX owner in the middle America contributed to this collection at some point in their life.
I think he had a couple
Love it.
I think he came to Honda.
Eric, you were asking about styling differences between the 365 and the 512s. One fairly distinctive difference, which I should have mentioned earlier, is the early cars have 6 tail lights. The later ones only have 4. So this BB has 4. That yellow 365 has 6.
So the function was just kind of toned down a bit.
And the other thing is those orange reflectors. Are those lights? Fog lights?
The flip-up headlights are behind them.
Yeah. So those are running lights, the orange up front? They're turn signals.
Could you imagine seeing something this coming the other, in the other lane in oncoming traffic when you're tooling around somewhere? That would be a memorable event. Sold at $550,000.
So in Ferrari speak, of course, GTB, Grand Touring Berlinetta, the hardtop. GTS is the Targa model with the removable roof panel here.
S is for Spider.
Indeed. Early 308s carbureted, these later ones fuel injected.
That's where the I comes into play. I for injected.
I cannot believe the breadth and depth and scope of this collection, and I'm not trying to shill for anybody. This is thrilling. We've got 3 more pages of Bachman cars. This is fabulous. Again, I just love sort of the modern thrust of this collection. They do pay tribute to some of the classics, but this is really unique, in my opinion, for a single-family Ferrari collection.
Well, and isn't it striking how the cars that have underperformed, and there are a couple that look like they have underperformed, have all been offset by that crazy price for the Enzo?
It's interesting. I don't know if it breaks down to the logic of the run order, or is it the car itself? There's more questions than answers to your question, John.
Now we lean into another beautiful shape. We're talking Dino 246s here. The Ferrari that isn't a Ferrari but is a Ferrari, right? Because it doesn't carry a Ferrari badge, it carries a Dino badge. And it's in commemoration of his dear departed son.
I'm always impressed with how gorgeous these cars are.
It's the precursor to the 308, and it's really the genesis of those cars.
My understanding was that Dino, as an engineering student, was involved in designing the V6 motor that went into the late 50s Formula One cars, and it was a derivation of that motor that went into this car, the Dino. And since it wasn't a full V12 Ferrari thought he would name the car after his son, hence the Dino badging. But of course, nobody knew what a Dino was. There was a bit of a challenge in the showroom, so in short order they ditched the Dino badging and just put a straight prancing horse on the hood.
That legacy is so poignant, but I like the idea that they called it Dino in tribute, because it's kind of like it lends, to my mind, more exclusivity, even though it was an important production model, 1274 maiden, all of the 246. But it's like Cher, or Prince, or why not Liberace. It's a singular given name, and I really kind of like that legacy. We're at $825,000 for the ask on the Dino. Fabulous.
Now, there are various versions of these Dinos, aren't there? The early ones are 206s, and although the performance is less, they are considered more desirable, I think, and certainly more valuable because of the rarity. Later models that they called the big chair models, I think specifically for the US market, where the early cars had a narrower body on them, and I think the later ones had bigger seats and a slightly wider body to accommodate your bigger American.
So was this a Pininfarina design, or was this one of the other folks at Ferrari that came up with this body shape? Because the reason I ask is it has that sort of Bizzarini feel. It also reminds me of a Porsche 904, which is around the same time period. But obviously the 308 was bodied Pininfarina, so I'm guessing this is too, because it's an evolution, right?
Yeah, I'd have to check, but I think this is a Pininfarina style car. I think at this time Ferrari was still not building the cars in-house, and I'm not sure. In the 50s, it was Scaglietti. Scaglietti would often build the cars that were styled by somebody else. Scaglietti was the builder.
The Dino never saw any sort of, let's say, racing victories, not officially from the factory, but that motor lived on to victory in the Lancia Stratos in the WRC days.
And that motor won the last, was in the car, was the last front engine car to win a Formula One Grand Prix. It really is a significant engine, and if you think about it, it's a V6. That racing engine was developed just shortly after Lancia invented the V6.
So now we're looking at a F12 TDF. I know William likes these quite a bit.
Well, and that TDF thing, it speaks to Ferrari naming cars for races that they participated in. This is a road rally around France, and TDF is Tour de France.
It's another car that also reminds me of a Viper in that shape. Am I wrong about that?
I also see C7 Corvette in it a little bit.
Yes, very much so.
But it works. I mean, I'm no shade on it.
Yeah, for me, this is one of the best-looking modern Ferraris.
I would agree with you
I love the cuts in the rear fender that make you think of the cuts in the fender behind the front wheel of an F40.
I'll just add, too bad it's yellow.
You know what? It's all in the eye of the beholder.
I actually think this guy looks pretty good in yellow. I think
like a Corvette, it wears it well.
Yes.
Now, I will say, it's hard to visualize it on the TV because it's doing this interesting reflection, but I would say it's a little bit more gold than just a straight fly yellow. It looks like it has some metallic in it. It would almost a satin finish.
Yeah, it does have a sort of satinly like magnolia kind of color to it, doesn't it? I like it.
And maybe because it's not the regular yellow. It's gluten spicy brown versus French's yellow mustard.
It's more Dijonais, isn't it?
You're making me hungry.
Where's the guy with the beer and the hot dogs?
Yeah, that's what we need.
It'd be appropriate.
Actually, you know what? It would work inside the
Do
stadium.
you remember that James Bond movie where the Bond girl is named Xena Onatop, and there's that wonderful scene where Bond and her are racing down into Monaco on the winding road into Monaco, and of course the car Xena Onatop is driving is a Ferrari 355 convertible, just like we have crossing the block now. Hers is red, this is a Bachman car, so of course it's yellow. I'm more of a hardtop guy than an open top guy.
I agree with you.
But this is a great looking car.
Yeah, it is. You know, it's funny you went to that James Bond movie with the car chase scene headed down into Monaco, because I thought you were actually going to talk about Barbara Carrera as Fatima Blush driving a Renault R5 Turbo being chased by James Bond on a BMW motorcycle. That I remember. I don't know.
There's not a BMW motorcycle or a Renault 5 Turbo. I'm crossing the block at the moment.
I think it is, but I'd have to look it up.
475 for a Ferrari 355. My God.
John, this 360 you and I have talked about quite a bit. It's another Challenge Stradale. I don't know the provenance on this one, whether or not the Challenge kit is in a box like the yellow one was, but the color. When was the last time you saw a green Ferrari?
I can't remember the last time I saw it. It's certainly a British racing green Ferrari, and surely there cannot be very many Challenge Stradales in British racing green. I think it looks pretty good in it. It's still got the Challenge Stradale stripe, hasn't it?
And this is that green I was talking about with the Magnum fill-in 308 that they used. The 308 came in a green like this, and it wears it well. I wish more Ferraris came in a color like this, but
The green pairs very well with the tan interior that it has as well.
I think it looks absolutely stunning.
I mean, normally 360s clock in at
Standard 360?
yeah, just standard 360, or even a regular Challenge Stradale. Where are they coming in at price wise?
Your standard 360 depends if it's F1 tranny or a manual. If you got an F1 tranny, depending on miles, low hundreds. Factory 6-speed, high hundreds, maybe even low 200s, depending on mileage, everything like that, provenance. Your Challenge Stradales, though, they're going through the roof to $1 million. Well, this one here is already a record, but it's the color. But your standard Challenge Stradales are approaching $1 million.
Wow.
And 2 years ago, you probably could have got it for 300 grand. If not a little less, maybe even a year ago. They have gone nuts.
And the Challenge Stradale, other than all the bolt-on race car stuff that they come with, obviously, was there actually a performance difference?
Yes, immensely. Because it's got that one tranny, they reworked the ECU, so your shifts are faster, crisper, everything like that. It's more solid, there's not so much chassis flex. That's basically the pinnacle of the 360 production. That's how they all should have been built. That thing is phenomenal.
You talked about chassis stiffness and all that. That comes from the fact of having the roll cage and all that. But if you have, let's say, like the yellow Challenge Stradale that they had earlier that didn't have that, you basically just have a 360 with a chip.
No, I mean suspension, everything like that. I mean, there's more tweaks to the motor than just the...
But wouldn't the suspension be in the boxes? Because you have to convert it over, right?
I mean, if you wanted to, yeah. You could, technically, but by the time you purchased everything and did it all and stuff like that, you must just buy a real one.
Yeah.
I mean, the big thing that people do, though, is on standard 360s, they'll buy the Challenge front and rear grills. So they'll put the front end on it and the rear end on it, and then they buy the wheels for it, and then they fiddle with the suspension and drop it to make it look like it's a Challenge Stradale. Because it looks beautiful like that. So that's what a lot of people do. It out in the market, you'll see that. Because everyone will market it, or you'll be able to see it clearly. It's got a Challenge front grille and rear grille and everything on it. Because it just finishes off really nice.
We are back in the swing of Grand Touring cars. We got a 575 Super America. Actually, looks like they drove this one quite a bit. 1,700 miles.
Oh, wow.
I mean, when you have 46 cars, you got to spread the love a little. You got to drive all of them at least every once in a while, right?
Yeah.
What I was going to say is if you have a large number of vehicles, it's actually hard to put a decent number of miles onto vehicles. If the Bachmans use their cars, they drove to and from a couple of show events, that might justify the 200-300 miles that they put on the cars. They went to a show, they came back again. They only did one show with that car, or three shows with that car, and that's why it has. Maybe they took it to a show and went out to dinner in it a couple of times. And if you have 40 cars, if you use one car every weekend for a year, you've got enough cars to last you a whole year. I'm not explaining myself very well there, but I think you understand what I'm talking about.
These British math skills, We're using the metric system today, John.
No pounds, shillings, and pence here.
Respect. I mean, I've got to deal with that myself. A lot of conversions.
For our Canadian contingent over here, yeah.
Absolutely.
So, a brown Dino now. Now, we all know about the that green Dino that was buried in the garden in LA for all those years. There's a lot of value in the rare coloured Ferrari, right?
Is that brown, though? Would you consider that brown? You have to have a creative name for it.
Marrone. Did I pronounce that properly?
But Marrone is actually chestnut.
Interesting. I did not know.
Marrone, it's like...
So like chestnut. The husk of a chestnut.
Yeah.
It's interesting and different, and I'm liking it.
It's metallic too. It's very interesting. But now it's brown was really period appropriate in the early 70s. A lot of cars came shades of brown and earth tones. We'll call them that.
It's got a very just sort of, I don't know, dignified, elegant look to it.
It does.
Ken, I would not have put this if you'd have asked me before. If I hadn't have looked at Hacketty's price guide or whatever, I'd have suspected that Dino was worth $500,000, and here we are well on the way to $750,000 for this one.
Well, during the last financial crisis in 2009, I remember the finest Dino available on the market at auction, at a high-end auction, 175 to 190. That's it. That was all the money.
I did a job one time selling aerial photographs door to door. I door knocked one house, got talking with the guy. He had a Dino in the garage. We got it out, we sat in it, we had a little look at it. I didn't sell him an aerial photograph. I did look at his Dino. He had paid £43,000 for it. Now that's the mid-90s, but...
Oh, that's
Is that most
awesome.
expensive Dino that you were talking about? Is that the one that Cher owned?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
I heard hers was worth more because her butt cheeks were in the seat, you know? It's a throwback
That's a
to
good
one of
one.
our drive-through episodes.
Oh,
there.
that's funny.
Here comes the most gorgeous car in the whole lot. You know, if it was a manual, then okay, you might be able to tolerate it, but
I don't understand this.
This kind of puts the icing on top of the cake, thinking the Bachmans were colorblind.
Well, it kind of looks like icing on top of chocolate cake. I mean,
Yeah.
or like a cinnamon roll. I mean, I'm trying to put a positive spin on this thing. It's breakfast food.
I mean, this is going to be a love or hate. I mean,
I believe the colors, though, were the product of the fact that it was a Sessante, so one of 60 examples, and there was something to do with the celebrations of Ferrari's 60th anniversary, and I think that was sort of the root of the color combination, if I'm not mistaken.
Can we call it cappuccino?
I like it. Cappuccino's delicious.
Right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you got the coffee and then you got the foam on top.
You know what? I think I would daily this.
Is it more appealing now that I've framed it that way?
If anything with caffeine, that makes it work for me. Well, we're already at 400,000. 425 is the ask.
So we'll need to keep track of which YouTube influencer bought this car.
Well, the buyer can be assured that there's no other example like this one of 60 612 Scaglietti Sessante, if I pronounce that properly.
I just want to confirm, for the sheer sake of science, brown is not a color men are colorblind to, right? It's blues and things.
You could be right.
So this was a conscious decision.
Yep, it was ordered new by the Bachmans. So if you want exclusivity, there's no other one of the 60 that are like this. I'm thinking this kind of look reminds me of a mid-70s Barcelona edition AMC Matador, and I liked it.
Wow.
I liked it too.
You went there.
Oh yeah, I had to go there. Much faster though.
Can we put the
I'm not sure if
stripe
the
of vinyl on it?
I'm not sure if the Bachmans would appreciate the AMC comparison.
Exactly.
We do, though. I very much appreciate that. That is a reach.
I think the products of Kenosha, Wisconsin are criminally unrecognized. And by the way, I dig the Gremlin.
Oh,
I'm not afraid to say it.
You know, if you really wanted to go full lampoon this thing, you could turn the bottom part into a wood paneling.
Oh, that's
that's all
so
for 625.
That would rule. That would be really cool.
it did.
But then you'd be, joking aside, you would be hurting the Bachman's provenance to do that, would you? And
Well-painted faux wood grain paneling. A car I knew 20 years ago is back. It's a 96 Chevy Impala wagon, black, and the owner's daughter at the time, she put faux wood grain that terminated in flames on the rear quarter panels, and it's delicious. It's back for sale again, and I want it. So if you're listening, I'm in the market.
Well, we have yet another 308 on the block. Something we haven't seen before.
And again, not so long ago, these were sub $100,000 cars, and here we are taking a cruise past 150. But look, it is a early car. It's a Bachman car, so low miles, easy to understand why the premium's being paid.
There's a dealer down the street from me. It's not to say a buy here, pay here a lot, but sketchy, to say the least. But you know, it gets decent stuff. But you know, you get those like high mileage stuff.
It says no credit. It says no credit checks, William. We get it.
But he gets in his in-store showroom. He gets some couple nice pieces of inventory. He's had an 84. He's got a black on black 308. super like 9,000 miles, immaculate, gorgeous. He's had it for like 2+ years now because he's asking 95 grand. So the guy's not out of line because what you're getting price year wise, I mean, granted these have better provenance, one owner, stuff like that, but
surely, really what you're saying is the reason your guy can't sell it for 95 and that one just sold for 210. A lot of that is to do with the atmosphere and the Bachman thing and the fact that all these cars have come along, boom, 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 one after another.
Well, here we have a special one. 2017 Ferrari LaFerrari Aperta. I mean, this is $1 million car to start with.
What's the premium on the Apertas over the closed ones? Is there one? Are they rarer?
50%.
Wow.
40 to 50, yeah, it's massive.
Now, the car that was formerly owned by Sammy Hagar, the cream-colored one at Barrett Jackson last year, was that an Aperta, do you know, or if that was the coupe?
I don't know.
It'd be interesting to be able to tease out, okay, coupe versus Aperta.
Wow, starting at $5 million.
Oh yeah, we're way past Sammy's 3.5 from last year. So obviously, celebrity provenance doesn't make that big a difference in this market. So a 1 of 210 LaFerrari Aperta. They're asking for $9 million now.
I was going to say, driving a Ferrari LaFerrari, no wonder Sammy Hagar can't drive 55.
Yeah.
Yeah, you won't be driving 55 in one of these.
Well, we rushed up to 9, and then it sat, hasn't it?
Stalled out. We popped the clutch early. That was that.
That Enzo is looking OTT, is it not?
Yeah.
So the open air Aperta, not celebrity provenance, but certainly well-known and respected Ferrari ownership from new by the Bachmans. It's interesting to see the gap. Is this new money looking for a home? Is this market correct? Are we seeing a new trend?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can definitely tell the money is flowing to the more modern cars.
Absolutely
there
right.
Seems to be a breaking point at the 550s and the 355 range. Anything older than that is kind of selling, other than the Testarossas, which seem to be an anomaly. Everything else kind of seems to be selling where it should be, but these are just over the top, as John puts it.
Yeah, I feel like that 166, they should have broken that out and sent that somewhere else.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. 10 million.
I can't help but feeling if I worked at Ferrari, certainly if I was in finance at Ferrari, I would look at these prices that the cars make just a few years. This is less than 10 years after this car's sold, and think, wow, we undersold those cars.
100%.
Our price for selling them new was too low.
And a big component of that, this is a 2017 model, and it's very easy to find online how much things have inflated in terms of price and how much money has deflated in a lot of currencies. I think it's a function of that as well, and it's I don't want to be flippant and say it's all relative, but on the other hand, there's definitely macro issues that have affected the nominal prices, the numbers that people are willing to bid versus the true intrinsic value of the car. But this is again another paradigm shift. When you look at, again, the Sammy Hagar car, not to keep harping on that, I think it was 3 to 4 million, 3.5, something like that is what the winning bid was. And you put that against where we are at right now with 10 million. There we go.
Yes, even with the Bachman provenance, even with the premium for it being an Aperta, that still makes this car look very highly priced in comparison to the Hagar car.
It's a significant premium we're seeing here.
I would say, I think the celebrity provenance thing is interesting. I mean, there was a Ford Escort that had been owned by Princess Diana that made a ridiculous price. I feel like the kind of person who's buying a LaFerrari is not the kind of person who would pay a premium for celebrity ownership, if that celebrity ownership was a rock singer. They might pay a premium if that was a different kind of celebrity, but to pay a premium for a rock star owned car, you have to sort of be a rock fan, and my sense is a lot of the people buying these cars are not those kind of people.
I think you're right. I think these are people that are making, actually, despite the electric air here, they're making quite sober decisions on what they're willing to spend.
Do you think it's individuals, or do you think it's groups? Do you think it's an individual bidder, or do you think it's like an investment group where 3 or 4 of us are going to own the car together and share it and show it? And
if it's an investment group, they're very low profile and under the radar. That's a great question. I do know that there's a number of people that have tried to form limited partnerships or hedge funds or just pools of money. Maybe that's something that's happening now too. That could explain some of these dollars. I don't think anybody's really being flippant with their bids. I think that they're actually really, there's clapping and crowds, but I think people are actually really digging in and doing their homework. So it'd be interesting to see though.
10 and a quarter for the Aperta LaFerrari.
All right, we got another heavy hitter here. We're going with a LaFerrari coupe instead of the Aperta. So
Interesting contrast between the two in regards to pricing.
well, you're thinking 50% difference between. So you're saying $5 million for this one?
This is between 5 to 6, maybe 7, because it's one owner, the low miles at. Then the question is it's got the new battery in it? Has that been done?
Tell us about the new battery and the old battery, William.
Better cooling, more efficient, longer lasting.
And they just did a new battery in the production life of the car, or
It was
there's like a retrofit thing that you can
That's
do?
got a retrofit. It was done under warranty, so that it didn't cost the owner anything. Technology jumps so fast. After this couple of years, 5-10 years, it was double the life of it, everything. I mean, it just made sense. So Ferrari actually did the right thing and stepped up and replaced them.
Now, William, is that a warranty replacement, or is that something that's at an extra cost for the owner?
No, it was a warranty deal that Ferrari did for him.
Oh, that is stepping up, absolutely, for the customer.
That would have been like $100,000-$200,000.
Wow.
Or
Probably not a simple procedure to do the changeout either.
No.
We were sat at 6 for a little bit there now, but now it's clicked on to 6.5, which means we're a good way beyond William's estimate of the closed car being worth half what the open one is.
We're only 15% over. It's not that much of a jump.
It's an interesting contrast between the two. I mean, just in terms of roof style.
I would prefer the coupe over the convertible, honestly.
Yeah.
I would too.
That would be the world's fastest hairdryer in open form, would it not?
I should say this is the last US delivered LaFerrari, and this is a feature of the way that the Bachmans like to collect, was they like to have as late a production car as they possibly could.
That'll always be a selling feature for down the road for somebody. Absolutely, provenance and single ownership, and then here we are, 6.2?
6.1. William, you have another chance. There's another work in progress car here for you.
So we should say that the official name of the Daytona is 365 GTB Stroke 4, the 4B and the 4 cam motor from the 275 GTB 4. Daytona being the Daytona 24 hours, and this being Ferrari's way of reminding Ford that he could still win some motor races, and won the Daytona 24 hours shortly before this car came into production. Hence everybody knew it as the Daytona.
That 1-2-3 photo finish, though, I know obviously it's intentional, but I'm wondering what Ford thought of that. Did they just kind of go, oh, whatever? Or was that, I would love to have been a fly on the wall at Henry Ford II's offices in Dearborn to see what he thought of that.
I wonder if in the early 70s, if Henry Ford was focused on the sport in the way that he'd been focused on it before. I feel like with the fuel crisis and all of the general, safety stuff, the big bumpers, all of that kind of stuff, I feel like Ford, probably his mind wasn't on the total performance as it had been in the 60s.
They were very, very concerned right at the top of Ford Motor Company, as I understand it, when they abruptly pulled the plug on motorsport in 1970, and then a little bit trickled out after that. But I think they were really afraid of being sued by Department of Transportation or the federal government at the time. GM thought in the early 60s that they would be broken up with antitrust or for being too big. So performance was a linchpin and all that, and it put a target on these manufacturers' backs at the time in America. So yeah, I think you're onto something there.
Now, I will walk back what I said earlier about not liking the design of the Daytona, because in race trim, like you're talking about, John, and the photo finish and the cars that they took to Le Mans, they are beautiful as a race car. They really are. Something about adding stickers to that body shape does make all the difference, at least for me.
It's the white pipes I love on the race cars.
1000%.
Yeah, that it really does. It really lends itself well to like competition preparation. Yeah. Absolutely. And these, like I said, it was one came second at the 79 24 Hours of Daytona long after other competitors had retired.
Well, for a car that needs a full restoration and probably another $200,000 or $300,000 spending on it, $430 seems a pretty good price.
It does.
I can't remember the last time I saw a car with a primer-colored body panel on it sell for more than $250,000.
Yeah, right.
Well, there's definitely value to unlock with this one.
Perfect candidate for an LS swap. I mean,
there's a white Testarossa on my mind that I can't forget about that needs an LS.
No, this.
Scuderia 16M.
Ooh, this car makes some big money. These have been going through the roof too.
So what's so special about the 16M?
It's a 430 Scud, just in convertible.
So the 16M is indicative of just being a convertible?
Yeah.
But it's already called the Spider.
Talk to Ferrari. I forget what the meaning behind the 16M is. There's something behind. I can't remember what the heck it is.
It might be the 16 F1 championships they had that to that.
Possibly.
Oh, maybe.
So is this end of the line run out kind of model, William?
Oh yeah, because they had the 430 Scud, that this came after that, kind of as the last run. They're incredible cars.
Well, surely it's the final iteration of the 360, 430 kind of platform. So if you get the very last one, aren't you getting the very best one with all the refinements?
Yeah, well, you can't really bundle a 360, 430 kind of together because the 430 is such a completely different car than the 360. But yeah, I mean, it's that point, it's refined, everything like that. Because look what they came out with then, the 458 came out. Annihilated everything. I mean, absolutely brilliant car. V8 natural aspect just screams. Took everything they learned and just created an absolute masterpiece in the 458. Especially when they got to the Speciale.
In answer to our speculation on the model designation, the 16M refers to Ferrari's 16 World Grand Prix manufacturers titles, championships to the time through 2007.
William, John's question was really interesting because it made me think, does the 430 share more lineage or more DNA with the 360 or with the 458 that came after it?
It's hard to say because the 360 and 430 look so much alike. Underpinning wise, it probably shares more with the 458, whereas, obviously aesthetics is going to share more with the 360.
To me, it's sort of like it's like the Cayman Boxster thing, right? When they went 986, 718, this and that and the other thing, and you sort of look at them and go, I recognize that that's the Boxster and the Cayman, but it's those subtle differences in those generations
This seems mighty strong money. I mean, it's 1.8, mighty strong money for a 430.
So now we just got a run-of-the-mill 430 Scud. Same color, though.
There's a lot of cars here, isn't it? I wonder if we might do what they do in Italian movie theatres and have a break in the middle so you can get some ice cream and take a pee. I mean, it's relentless, isn't it?
And if a motorcycle rode by a Fellini film, it'd be great.
It's definitely an attack of Ferrari. It's amazing.
I mean, I will say the crowd has thinned out since after the Enzo crossed the block because, you know, maybe you got a little tired of seeing Ferraris and Ferraris and Ferraris.
I've never thought I'd ever hear anybody say, you know, that could be a reason you get, it's like Ferrari fatigue.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
The audience has definitely thinned. And it'll be interesting to see if this second F40 that we have coming up shortly brings more or less than the previous one. I didn't compare specifications to understand about value, but it is interesting that there was definitely more of a buzz earlier in the day.
Yeah, and the bidding has also seemed to have slowed quite a bit. So whatever money was in the room might have been spent.
You know what? We've seen a lot of big numbers today, but I think that bidders are, and their representatives, obviously in this space, are doing their research, they're doing their homework. They are willing to bid what it takes, but I don't think that they're willing to throw money at the market either.
Right.
This is selective, it's stratified. This is on a car-by-car basis, as we're seeing. The results are great, but on the other hand, it's not something that... I'm just trying to pick out the trend here. What I'm seeing is good numbers, strong numbers. We're going to have
to... going to reflect on the rest of the market. That's what you're asking.
Well, that's exactly.
Is this down to the fact that these are all super low-mile cars that have awesome provenance, and because of the yellow, it's very distinctive. So that's three factors that might really encourage bidders to open their checkbooks a little bit wider.
Totally correct, yeah. No stories, quality cars, single or limited ownership, low miles. They'll always win the day.
As a complete amateur to my contemporaries sitting here with me, I also feel like you're saying there's no desperate bidding like I must own a Ferrari from this collection, so silly money is just being thrown at something to own it. It seems very deliberate what is being bought, and that's just my completely unbiased third-party opinion here, you know, kind of viewing what I'm seeing unfold in front of me.
I'm getting a very intentional feeling about how the bidding is shaping up here and how it's continuing. Absolutely right. And, you know, there's dozens more Ferraris from this collection, but then there are pages of it in the catalog, but then we've got more collector cars and then the Bianco Speciale. So it's interesting. You know, there's going to be some crescendos today for sure.
I feel like we are trying to really push this car up right now.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I never thought I would see I never thought I would see $1 million 430. I'm astonished. It's at 1.3.
Is there a chance, David, that the professionals in the space, maybe some of the critics, maybe some of the subject matter experts are going to take the results from this and just, I don't want to say discard them, but push them to the side as an anomaly?
These might be outlier results, absolutely. And I'll have to, when I'm working on reports for Motorcopia, is when I'm analyzing certain years, makes, and models, I'm going to have to be kind of measured as to how much weight I put on in these results. I think they're strong. I'd love to see, I can't wait to see, again, with upcoming auctions, whether or not the trend continues.
So we mentioned before, some of the other place markers for the market are going to be the auctions that follow this. So where do you think the breaking point is? Is it going to be Monterey Car Week, where that sort of settles if these numbers stick for the year and for maybe next year? Or is it going to take something else to really solidify the numbers that we're seeing?
I think it's going to be an auction sort of week by auction week thing we're going to have to watch. Monterey, obviously, everybody's watching Amelia Island, Scottsdale. Paris Retromobile, let's face it, that's more prevalent here than ever before in North America. Monterey for sure. Monterey is going to show whether this extends and endures this trend or not. That's going to be a big test.
So let's talk a little bit about buyer's etiquette when it comes to these. I mean, obviously it's anybody's prerogative to do what they want with their cars. They could go drive them, they could go track them, they could put them in cold storage if they want to. But let's say this car shows up at Amelia in a couple of weeks and they're trying to flip it. Like, is that frowned upon in the community, or does it really matter?
I think it is, actually. I think that people can spot a cynical, commercially driven decision that if it's monetary and that quick, I don't think people appreciate the flippers as much. I think there's all kinds of room for arbitrage, buy low, sell high in this market, but if it's that quick of an attempted turnaround, I don't think it'll happen because of consignment and marketing deadlines and time windows for auctions. So if any of these cars do come back to market, I would suspect it would only happen in Monterey or beyond.
So this 430 Scud, we were going up in $25,000 increments. I mean, it really slowed down. It was like the Enzo. There were two people in the room who really wanted it.
Yeah. So what do you think is a grace period if you bought this car as an investment car? It's sort of like a first date. How long do you wait till you call? So how long do you wait before you try to relist it in the market? Because obviously these cars are going to be followed. They're very obvious which collection they came from.
That's right. That's exactly right. I think maybe Monterey would probably be an appropriate window to start attempting to market any of these cars. And the prices here today and the bidder interest, I think you're seeing that there's sufficient interest and sufficient value. People will try. I hate it when people do try to resell something so quickly. It's a tough call. I'm hoping that enthusiasts and real collectors will pick up these cars and continue that legacy that the Bachman started and respect it. I'm not saying not use your car the way you see fit, but what I'm saying is these aren't just art to be hung on the wall. These are machines that were meant to either win races or establish dominance on the road, and I'd like to see them used a little bit.
Well, as we kind of transition here to another heavy hitter, which is going to be the second F40 in the collection, we do have a 512 BB, not a BBI, that just crossed the block at $400,000. The importance of this car, John, we talked about it yesterday. This is a carbureted 512, which sort of sets it apart from the other three that are in the collection, the fuel-injected one. So that's the importance of this car. I mean, aesthetically, it's the same as the other red one.
Yeah, it's a steady evolution, and it's more to do with American smog legislation than it is to do with, basically smog legislation came in and Ferrari introduced modifications to offset that. So first the bigger motor from the 365 model to the 512, and then fuel injection to just clean up what was going into the tailpipe. Of course, for the purist, that carburetor roar is quite an important thing. For the purist, the lightness of the 365 versus the 512 is a significant factor.
So as we lean into this second F40, let me recap for you guys. The last one in the collection, the other one, its twin, sold for $6.25 million. So will this clock in the same, or?
Well, we just passed 5, haven't we? We're right at 5 now.
At 865 miles as of today, and ordered new by the Bachmans. I mean, it'd be interesting to see if this matches the other example.
Now, the other car had half as many miles at 456. What's that amount to? $100,000 difference? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, we're going to find out soon, though.
They're both sub 1,000 mile cars.
I don't think it's about the miles. I think it's that if you came here to buy an F40, you've either got that F40 or with the previous car, or you're wanting it now. I think that's what's going to drive. Or you're
trying to build the Fab 5, right? 288, F40, F50, Enzo, and so on down the line. So it'll be very interesting to see. The F50 is not too far away either. But we are under where its twin was. I do
what's a
believe
few
they
hundred?
need to rev this car up a little bit, though. Really get the sense of that flat plane crank V8.
I've just realised the 3 exhausts on Civic Type R's
Yes.
from the F40.
Yes.
Never realised that before.
It was ahead of its time, John. I keep saying that.
The F40 sells for $5,300,000, a bit of a gap, but hey, what's a few $100,000 for Ferrari F40 buyers?
Oh, wait. Something I've never seen before. Ferrari 512.
Well, this one's a BBI, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the fuel-injected one.
I wonder what it was about BBs that the Bachmans so liked. I wonder if it was the shape or if it was the way that they drove or quite what it was that was the attraction.
Or it was a moment in time where it was a Ferrari that was easy to pick up because nobody really wanted them, right? It could be a child of circumstance.
Yeah, there was a period, wasn't there, 15 years ago when these were $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 cars.
You know, from what I've been seeing over the years in the business, there were a lot of wealthier professionals, again, academics at major universities. The Chicago area, especially, there seemed to be a group of professors that really liked the BB and the BBI. Had a sense of adventure. Some of them were pilots too, and just their lives were different. Inflation was different. Wealth was different. A working professional could aspire to and achieve a BB if they had, everything in order. And it just seems like now they've become, after a price drop, about 20 years ago, now they're coming back into vogue.
But when you're talking about the 80s and working professionals, I mean, this 512 BB, 1984.
Talking about hookers?
It's the 80s. I mean, yes, of course. But I mean, you have a lot of choices in 1984. Would you buy a 512 BB or buy a Lotus Esprit?
Yeah, or a
Definitely not
Countach.
a Lotus Esprit. What are you talking about, Eric? Just because they're both wedges. They're not remotely the same car. One's got a poxy little 4-cylinder engine. The other's got a mighty V12. It's like, would you date a girl or a cardboard cutout?
Oh, John. I mean, I'm trying to draw a parallel without having to be like, oh, well, there were Porsches available at the time, or there was this, or there was the Corvette.
The competition for the BB would have been older cars that you could have got at great prices. Imagine the price that you could have paid for a 50s Ferrari Testarossa or something like that at the time in the mid-80s. At that time, you could have picked up a Ferrari GTO for under £1 million.
Okay, so let's take the debate to that end, which is 1984 Ferrari Testarossa versus 1984 512 BB. Which would you choose? The new hotness or the old guard that's going out the door?
Oh, I meant the 50s Testarossa, not the 80s Testarossa.
This is very interesting. This Ferrari 328 GTS is actually, I believe, selling for more than the 512 BB that just...
This is the one to watch.
Here we go,
These have been going
458
for the
Speciale.
absolutely crazy in the market.
So isn't the deal with these that this is the last time Ferrari did a naturally aspirated high revving V8?
Correct. The 488s were turbos, and then the 296, we got a twin turbo 6-cylinder.
I'm predicting over 4 million. I mean, this will break
What's
a record.
this Speciale A? What does that mean?
Aperta. Again, and it's getting more and more stated, this is quite possibly one of the best Ferraris ever built. The coupe or the convertible. That's why they're getting obscene money for them.
I really like the 488. It's a very nice
Yeah,
car.
they're nice. They're starting to get better. It's just fresh to the Pista.
And they had a great racing track record as well. They did really, really well. And oddly enough, when they transitioned, there was a period where they were working the bugs out of the 488 and the 458s were running right alongside of them. They're just as quick.
Yeah.
But it was getting used to the turbo and the spool, and the drivers are trying to acclimate to the new car. And actually, funny enough, the same thing happened when 296 debuted.
Yeah,
the 488 was actually quicker than the 296 until they worked out the problems. And then, obviously they sunset the 488, but it's always that overlap. When you see them in motorsport running together, you're like, is it really worth jumping to the new car yet?
Yeah, progress can be
commitment financial, you know what I mean?
progress can be difficult sometimes.
But yeah, the 458 saw a great track record across different racing bodies across the world.
So the Speciale A designation, that means Aperta, is that correct?
I thought 4 maybe, but I thought at least 3. I mean, what these things are doing.
Could it be color?
I don't know. I mean, it's the last one produced. That's how many miles? 58 miles. Of course, then that's a sad situation. It's such an incredible car to drive. In reality, you can't drive it because then, unless you just don't care about the money factor or what the investment is, you want to go enjoy it. Because they had the other one that sold, they had estimate between 1.5 and 1.8. I can't remember what it sold for, but this being one owner, low miles, last produced, everything.
All right, we're at the countdown, 2,900,000. Sold. 2,000,008.
All right, we got the last 3 cars.
So the 328 is, of course, the evolution of the 308. Slightly bigger motor, slightly different grille, chrome on the grille there rather than black, and bigger back bumpers. For my money, I prefer the earlier, smaller bumper cars, but of course you do get more creature comforts and generally a more just together vehicle if you buy a 328 rather than a 308.
I would have agreed with you if we had this debate 20 years ago. I would have said 308 all day long. Forget the 328. It's just bloated and big and heavy, and so be it. But now, as I reintroduce myself to these cars with wiser and more mature eyes, I see the appeal of the 328. I really like them. I mean, I got the chance to drive one, and it was fabulous. And now, if I could
from the 308, different from the 308 you autocrossed.
Yeah.
How so?
Quicker, more linear in terms of power, also rev happy, just like the 308, but it just felt like it had more low end grunt in comparison because of the 3.2, and it was a QV right away, right? They never had a non 4-valve head on those cars.
That 4-valve head will really help the top end as well.
It did. And so I enjoyed it very much, and again, if I had the money to be able to pick one up today, I would love to have a 328.
Well, this one's at 550, but surely you can pick them up for under 100, can't you?
Yeah. I'll call, I got Lance Stroll's dad on speed dial. I'll just call him, Here we go. F50.
So these F50s, they are, I wasn't into them when they were new. Now I really am. It is a Formula One car which you can drive on the road. It truly is.
I just wish it looked better. I'm sorry. Compared to the F40, it's quintessential 90s. It's very blobby and round and soft. I mean, I'm not discounting its technology or its capabilities. The V12 is awesome, but it's just, I can't get over the styling.
Is it wrong for me to say that it kind of reminds me of those McLaren M8 styled kiddie beds from the early 70s?
Yes.
Which I always wanted. So maybe I should aspire to one of these.
Are you trying to say it looks like the Coyote from Castle and McCormick?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. But I would be more excited to own a McLaren M8 than I would a Ferrari F50.
Oh man, you're tripping me back
Starting
with
at $9 million.
with Castle and McCormick.
We should, as we pass 10 million here, we should recognize that, this was a car that was developed by Michael Schumacher when Michael Schumacher and Ferrari were at their most dominant in Formula One, in the DNA of those turn-of-the-century Formula One cars with their normal aspiration and their super high revving. That is right there in this F50. The F40, people always compare F40 and F50, and I just think it's an absurd comparison because the F40 is a totally different car. The F40 is like, we talked about what that is. This F50 is a Formula One derived. It's a different kind of ethos.
But
you can't compare them.
The problem I have is if you follow the legacy of Schumacher, like you recently did on an episode, this is the beginning of his career versus the Enzo, which is at the end of his career, and everybody says the Enzo's a better car. So for my money, this car gets discounted, and you fall back to the F40 because the F40 it's square in the rivalry with Porsche, because the question always comes up, 959 or F40. The F50 doesn't have a contemporary. What is that, the Diablo? The Diablo doesn't stand a chance against this car, and Porsche didn't have anything. The 911 Strassen version doesn't really work as a comparison because that was a homologated LMP1 or GT1 Le Mans car, so it stands by itself with no competitor.
Yes, it stands by itself with no competitor, and hard to find a comparison as we cruise past 11 million here.
There is one car I would put up against it, and I know you're going to hate me for saying this, and that's the XJ220. We've had this debate before, but I would choose that over the F50.
If the XJ220 had a V12, I'd be with you on the comparison.
The F50, the ask is at 11,250. They're counting down.
I don't even like the wheels. I'm just going to throw it out there.
Oh, I don't know. As it's rolled up there, I've looked at it and thought I like the proportions of that. They just
11,200 is the ask.
I would definitely have an F40.
Counting down.
An F40.
Maybe when I've matured like you have.
As is typical of some Ferrari Marketplace podcast episodes, there was a slight technical snafu and it looks like we ran out of battery, but that's okay. We were one car away from the end and we cut to commercial break, and we'll be back after the break with the Bianco Speciale.
For everything from Ferrari and Porsche, Lamborghini and Koenigsegg, visit exoticcarmarketplace.com. If you're into anything with wheels and a motor, log on to the Motoring Podcast Network and check out our family of podcasts at motoringpodcast.net. This is the place to find your favorite new show. Next up, a shout out to David Beatty and his team at Slot Mods, who custom build some of the coolest slot car tracks in the world at slotmods.com. Let your imagination run wild. And finally, Grand Touring Motorsports, covering all aspects of auto racing and motorsports history. Check out their e-zine at gtmotorsports.org. All the links for our sponsors are in the description.
All right, gentlemen, we are back. We are moments away from the Bianco Speciale, the main attraction of MECUM's Kissimmee 2026 auction.
And we've continued to see really strong numbers and great sell-through, haven't we?
We have. There's been a few Ferraris that have crossed the block since the Bachman collection. A lot of Ferrari 365 GTSs, GTBs, all those Daytona cars. And then we have one final Ferrari in the mix, 63 Ferrari 400 Super America that's coming up. So looking forward to that. And then there'll be two more cars, and then I'm sure MECUM's going to put together just a small break, and then we will get started with our main event, which is the Bianco Speciale that we've been leading up to. So any key points that we want to make about the car as we bring our listeners back up to speed if they haven't listened to our previous episodes?
Well, I was just going to talk a little bit about the Super America that we have coming up first of all. These were, each was an individual car that was ordered from the factory, and I think in the 60s they were 2 or 3 times more than Ferrari's standard offerings. So when we see these 410 Super Americas come to market, we're really looking at what at the time was peak Ferrari.
One of the most beautiful Ferraris ever built, and I believe I've lost count of how many individual series of these cars, but they were all, like you said, built basically to order for all the great personalities of the era too. I think Peter Sellers might have, I believe he had either.
I think he did, yeah.
Yeah.
Man of 1,000 Faces.
That's right, and the Pink Panther and Dr. Strangelove.
Oh, what a movie that was.
Yeah.
So at Pebble Beach each year, up the hill from where the Concours takes place, there's Casa Ferrari, and Casa Ferrari, they always have a display of 40 or 50 Ferraris, and this last year there were a couple of Super Americas, and you could make comparisons between them and look at how the styling evolves, the wheels, the positioning of the chrome, the shape of the taillights, the shape of the headlights, the shape of the air intakes. You can really compare and mix and match and see how each individual styling element it was developed and was taken on some cars and taken off other cars, and that is very relevant for us talking about the 250 GTO, because you can talk about, you know, numbers and there being enough GTOs. There were 39 built, 36 survived. The feeling is that because of the 36, there's some kind of there's enough to make a market, but there's not so many to create excess supply and drive prices down. So that's certainly one of the reasons why they cite for the GTO being the Mona Lisa of automobiles. But let's be real about this. The GTO is the Mona Lisa of automobiles because of the way that it looks, because the GTO got all of those different styling cues that we see through Ferraris in the previous 15, 20 years. It had the best of those styling cues all in one place. The E-type style nose, the 3 straights behind the rear wheels, the awesome coupe shape with a little ducktail spoiler. All of those elements came together on the 250 GTO to really make it stand out.
But you know what it didn't have, John? It didn't have a trapezoidal passenger glass on a very curved car. That was one design feature that did not make it in the 250 GTO that you do see on the 400 Super America. I can't get over that piece of glass. For me, I see the evolution from the 250 Lusso that we talked about earlier, but I just don't get that piece of glass.
It's the Hofmeister King.
I don't like it. It doesn't matter if the Pope invented it.
You know, for some reason that element doesn't really come into my vision. It's just I just love the way that body flows from a profile and that tail end on that car. It's just beautiful.
I don't know, for me it's a magnet for my eye. It's the first thing I see because maybe it's my brain, but it feels out of place. So the Hofmeister King, John, I kid you a little bit, but why is that important? Why do we need to know Hofmeister and his kink?
Well, because every modern car has it, because the way they break up the boring shape of these modern SUVs and crossovers is by doing the Hofmeister kink. If you walk through any car park, you will see more cars with a Hofmeister kink than not.
I've never, and I don't like it on modern cars either. So now I have someone to blame. I see how this works.
And now you cannot unsee it.
All right, this car, I mean, aside the kink, call it what it is, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful car.
The way it sits on the road is absolutely awesome. The interior design for me is absolutely peak car interior. This era of 60s Ferraris with the 5-gauge package and the thin stick shift. I really believe interior design has never been.
I love that luxury back then was defined not by how many widgets and doodads you had or in the interior. It was conservatively, elegantly luxurious, and we'll never see that kind of look again. We'll never see that level of pre-add-on optioned out interiors.
And these 400s were fast. fast as well. They're 150 mile an hour plus cars, and that is pretty astonishing for their 60s technology. So the cars just moved across the block here as we passed 2.3. The way the line comes off the top of the front wheel arch and extends along the fender above the Pininfarina badge there, just so awesome.
Does this car act as the precursor to the 400 and the 412?
Well, in basic concept, it does. You know, the 2+2.
Right, they were a replacement for this.
Yeah.
They took their design cues from the 365 GTB4s, right?
Yeah, that's right. Maybe an overall essence. I will have to say, though, that the 400, the 412, they're the most criminally underrated Ferrari I think there is.
This generation or the newer ones, in all honesty.
Absolutely.
So what did that hammer out? It's 2.3 or so? Is that what we saw?
Yeah, something like that. Which, to be honest, seems a little low for 400 Super America.
Coach-built Ferrari that looks that nice. I mean,
it's such a lovely car. The blue.
It's a shame that car didn't cross the block earlier, when maybe there was a little more buying enthusiasm in the room.
I think so. It's funny, you know, how you stage an auction, and I wouldn't even begin to comment on how an auction of this size and volume, what goes into the decision making, because you know they're and that's what makes this market interesting, though, is there's a chance for actually someone to jump in, buy something, and if they're in it for a profit motive after a little while, you do have that opportunity to arbitrage a little bit.
So John, we're 2 cars away from the Bianco Speciale. Do you want to kind of bring everybody up to speed on its significance?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we said 36 GTOs built. This one, the only white one. The whole world of GTOs is, because there's only 36 people have got them, any driving event that you're invited on, this is an opportunity to rub shoulders with people who you would not normally be able to rub shoulders with. So it's not just a car, it's an introduction into a very, very exclusive club.
The Court of Owls, if you will, yeah.
Yeah. Now, this particular car was bought by a British Jaguar dealer, and it was bought specifically in order to go racing with, and the guys who he had race it were names that were very well known to the British public, and subsequently even became known internationally. So Roy Salvatore, but more famously Graham Hill, who, you know, the only man to win the Triple Crown of motor racing, and really a very well-known figure within international motorsport in the 60s and 70s. So you were talking about John Coombs as the original owner and orderer of this Bianco Speciale. Yeah, John Coombs being the owner of the Jaguar dealership and being somebody who's very much in Britain associated with racing Jaguars, and always in white. He was known for racing in white, and he was clearly well enough regarded by the Ferrari factory that when Coombs requested the car be painted white, it was indeed painted white, which apparently at the time was a very difficult thing to get Ferrari to do. I dare say in those days you couldn't just pick up the phone, call the factory and say, well, I want it in white, kind of thing. It just wasn't possible to do that.
And one of the things that we walked backwards into during our research and the coverage that we did on this car a couple of months ago was that the significance of the Bianco Speciale isn't necessarily about the significance of a Ferrari, but its influence on Jaguar's racing history at that time.
Well, absolutely, because John Coombs was so close with the Jaguar board of directors, and there is a story that he had lunch with Bill Haynes one day, one of Jaguar's senior guys, and said to them, you know, I can't race your E-types anymore because they're too slow. I'm going to have to race this Ferrari. And the long and short of that meeting was this car, the Bianco Speciale, spent the winter of 1962-3 at the Jaguar factory with the ideas being copied and incorporated into what became the lightweight E-Type.
Okay, we'll put air quotes on that, John. We'll call it was being studied. It was being studied. So as we're getting that much closer to the car crossing the block, Dave, you put together a meticulous analysis of where this car should fall. How are you feeling based on the energy in the room of where the car might hammer?
Well, as far as the room kind of thinning out a little bit, I'm not concerned about that because anybody that's in the market for a car of this magnitude and significance will probably have representatives on hand to bid for them, or they'll be on the telephone. I believe there's probably 2 to 5 not only financially qualified bidders, but bidders that would want something like this as a crowning achievement of either the anchor or the crowning achievement of their collection.
Here we go. They're running a video of the car right now. Get everybody hyped up. What do you think the opening salvo will be in terms of the bid?
I think based on where things have been over the last 5 years with the few GTOs that have come to market at auctions, I think they'll probably open up at about 40 or 50 million.
Yeah, because the range of past prices we've seen is 35 for a car that was considered to have a bad history, and 75 for a car that's been considered to have a good history.
And this car does have a good history. It's never been totally restored. It's never been wrecked. It's never been the subject of a racing accident of any magnitude. And the only one in white. And it was run for 3 whole years competitively in the UK. Here we come.
Yeah, here we go.
Also known as Bianco Speciale. The only Ferrari 250 GTO finished in Bianco team by Ferrari.
Look at that.
Number 37, 2019.
Here it comes.
Successful racing career with 1 victory and 5 second-place finishes in the GT.
What a gorgeous car. It doesn't matter what color the GTO is in.
Oh my God, that's art. That's not even the car anymore.
Yeah, this is an art auction right now.
Yep, this is pure art.
Starting
at 50 million.
50, wow.
The auctioneer's looking for bids.
Increments we're going to go up in.
Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in.
Sorry.
Okay, they got 25, asking 30.
We're at 30.
So there's an awful lot of people around the block, but it's hard to see if any of the bidders are in the house.
The bid is at 30 million, looking for 35 million.
32, 1, 2, 31, 32. I have $31 million. $32 million. I have 31 bid.
31 million bid.
It seems to have stalled out here a little bit.
Yeah, it has. It really has. And it's below the threshold of the lowest one ever sold.
Well, the lowest sold in recent.
This car has
times, yeah.
continuous great history. Ownership of 2 famed collectors, including Jack Sears, who drove this car.
I feel like we're playing The Price is Right.
Exactly.
$1, Bob.
Oh gosh, we've been hanging for a while now, haven't we? My God.
Is there anyone on the phone? Can we tell if there's any international bidders or phone bidders?
Okay. Well, this will be could possibly become the bargain of the century in the classic vintage Ferrari market. This is a solid car with solid history. 32 now.
All right. Let's it's not moved at all, and they're trying to whip the audience up a little bit now.
Yeah.
Let's see if that achieves any movement.
I am literally on the edge of my seat.
Oh, this is $33 million, asking $34 million.
Well, it's moved now.
There's always a chance this will not sell and then sell privately afterwards, right? Because they have their whole bid goes on process at MECUM where you can put in a bid later.
Exactly. And there's a chance, an opportunity to engineer a private deal for sure. But with the presentation this has had and the history of this car being well known, okay, they have 33.5.
Well, it is creeping up, so does it seem like there's two bidders to you?
It's hard to tell.
It is really hard to tell.
The likelihood of a bidder being on the phone is strong here.
I mean, there is somebody on the phone with the guy in the hat.
That's right.
Do we have an idea of what the most expensive car to cross the block at MECUM is? Is this it? Is this going to set a record for them?
I'd be very surprised if not.
Yeah.
We're holding at 34.
You know something? He's going to be driving your car. He has to take it out there and run it on that stage. $35 million. 34 million is it. $35 million. $35 million.
With all the excess liquidity out there worldwide, this might look back like the deal of the century.
Or it might be a changing of the guard.
Yes.
It might be a movement of the guard away from racing cars from the last century and towards hypercars of this century.
Yeah, because we saw them do very, very well earlier during the Bachman collection.
Enzo and the Visac car that we saw, yes, the Visac 918 that we saw yesterday do what? Double its $2.5 million estimate.
I mean, this is the automotive equivalent of a Picasso, a Rembrandt, a Van Gogh, all rolled into one.
Well, and to walk away with this car at 35, this sets GTO prices significantly back, doesn't it? I mean, the WeatherTech guy supposedly paid 70 or 75 just 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah. This one's at 35 and it's never been wrecked. Nobody died in it. I mean, there's a lot of positives.
Yeah, lesser examples with issues have sold for more.
Well, yes, because of course that's the story with the $35 million car. It wasn't so much that it had a bad history; it was that it had virtually no history at all.
Right.
In that, when it was bought new, it was wrecked shortly afterwards. It was wrecked shortly afterwards, and the family seemed to have hung on to the car for many years until Bonhams brought it to auction and sold it in 2023. Still sticking at 35.
We're not moving from this
35.
spot.
We are not.
I mean, unless
we are not getting to 40.
Which puts even Williams' projection pretty high.
This was certainly a bold offering for MECUM Auctions. They've done amazing pre-sale marketing of this car, promotion, presentation, everything that an auction house should be doing to present a car of this magnitude. So hats off to them. They have been doing an awesome job of this.
Could not agree more. Absolutely fabulous.
Yes, if you were in the market for a car like this, there's no way you couldn't know it was on sale. You would know this car was on.
Everybody's been watching this car. Everybody's been talking about this car. I haven't bumped into anybody that doesn't know that this car has been on the block. It's been up for sale for quite a while.
So it seems clear then that the prices on these, it seems clear that this is a dip in price for these very high-end 50s, 60s sports racing cars.
Rising tides don't necessarily raise all boats, and I think that's the market. It's very selective. It's very stratified. Hopefully, this high of the high end offering will work. We've seen a lot of surprises to the upside today.
Now they're giving a history lesson to get everybody tuned in.
And hopefully we'll see a nice healthy bump and some aggressive bidding, competitive bidding. I'm wondering though, could it be dangerous to advance market something like this as far ahead as it had been, or is it good practice to do that? Because you would think that the diligence that's gone into this since about August, probably around Monterey last year.
Yes, the car was at Monterey last year. My son and I saw it.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. It's just simply beautiful. And I think with the generational money that's out there, the international money that's out there, again.
Do you think people are waiting for the bid goes on? Is that what's happening at the moment?
I'd have to wonder. I mean, try and buy it on the block. I mean, I don't think that the bid goes on will provide a bargain. It'll probably provide, again, a starting point for negotiation with a serious, motivated prospect. But
if I had to take a guess, I would guess the reserve is 50.
Yeah, I was going to say, because at this point, with some of the other cars we've seen cross the block, they would have been like, reserve is off, and then people go crazy. So I guess everybody in the room kind of understands we're not at that point yet.
Yeah, that's right.
The car's not for sale.
Yeah.
It's just chickens talking.
Yeah.
Well, if somebody's out there with the money and the willingness or the readiness to buy something like this, I think they'd be well advised to do it on the block.
Yeah.
The one sort of black mark against the car that when we discussed this last night is the fact that it's right-hand drive, not left-hand drive.
Yeah, there's like 8 right-hand drives, if I remember the stats correctly, and this is one of 8.
However,
but a right-hand drive car in the States, to your point, John, it's not that difficult to adapt. But for a lot of people, I think it might be a point at which you just don't want to engage.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I hadn't considered it as a factor until we were discussing it. But I just wonder if it is something that holds people back. Just because if you've not driven a car with, it is a weird back-to-front thing. It's not just that you place the car on the other side of the road. It's that everything is, the shifter's on the other side. You're using another hand to change gear. And that's perhaps off-putting.
However, up until not terribly long ago, all Le Mans 24-hour cars were all right-hand drive, were they not? Or most
racing
of them?
Cars tend to be right-hand drive.
That's
there's
right.
more right-hand corners, so you can see to place the car better. That's my understanding of why they used to.
It's also for driver changes. We talked about this before.
Oh, exactly.
John and I have debated this.
But guys, we're still at 35.
Yeah,
I don't know what the guys on the block are talking about whilst we're talking about this stuff, but the car is not being bid up.
Yeah. And folks, we're not trying to fill airtime. We're just like wondering what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. Are they thinking that somebody's going to find $35 million down the back of their seat or something to bid on it?
There's a bag here. I don't know what's in it.
Powerball.
Yeah, where's that guy? ChatGPT's going to bet on this.
Isn't that amazing?
Bitcoin's up. I'm going to make a bid.
Yeah. What's my NVIDIA stock at? It's quiet in here. It's thinned out quite a bit.
I'm surprised that a group of people didn't form an investment LLC and buy something like this. Sorry to cut you off there.
That's a new thing, though, these days, right? Where they go in together and buy something.
Yeah, and run it, as a venture.
But if we were slightly better heeled, if we'd arrived here, each with 10 million that we were ready to spend.
$50 I could give you. I mean,
but if had we arrived, we could have picked up a bargain.
Yeah.
Could you imagine a fractional offering to qualified bidders of, say, I think the threshold's 200,000 to play in that market? There we go. 35. reserve is off at
So you're telling me the
35.
reserve was at 35?
The reserve was at 35.
I would have expected a far higher.
Once, twice, third and final call.
Third and final call at 35.
500,000
Going once.
still for sale. At $35 million bid. $35,500,000. $35,500,000. Anybody else?
Those people that are in the audience, there are a good number of people standing and a great number of people filming, aren't there?
Yeah. How many are bidding?
That's exactly right. Need bidders. Sold at $35 million. A car with this quality?
Yeah, that is the bargain of the century.
Oh yeah, somebody got a huge bargain. This is not gonna, sorry.
So it has been a day full of anomalies, right? We got outliers in both directions.
Wow.
Unreal.
This is, people will be talking about this for a long time to come.
Yeah, this is significantly, I really feel this paradigm shift that we were discussing earlier. I really feel like the people in the audience with the big checkbooks are now in their 40s and 50s, not old
Yeah, they're not
guys.
I hate to say, maybe they're not interested in 60s eras Ferraris. Like we saw some of the lower cars really not perform that well.
And then if that's the case, shifting tastes,
How can a car like this is like lust on wheels.
let alone its competitive history, who had their backside in the driver's seat, the fact that it wasn't never totally restored, my mind is blown. Somebody's got an entry to every event they ever should care to participate in. And maybe this is a reset of that end of the market. It'll be amazing to see what happens next in the ultra high-end market. But
Well,
it's
it
like
will be, because the Uhlenhaut Coupe seems a very, very long time ago now, doesn't it? That $143 million Mercedes-Benz. That seems like quite a long time ago now.
way in the rearview mirror. Yeah.
Well, for the sake of our listeners, what we're going to do is we're going to get back together under less chaotic circumstances and do a post-mortem of MECUM Kissimmee and the Ferraris that crossed the block, because there are a bunch of other Ferraris that we didn't cover that we were able to capture numbers on. So you'll go back to your maths there, Dave, and kind of come up with what things look like, and then we'll reset and talk about what some of the patterns look like, what it might mean for the rest of the auction season. But I cannot thank you gentlemen enough for sharing booth time with me for coverage here at MECUM Kissimmee, and look forward to doing it again.
Thank you very much, Eric.
Nobody sells more than MECUM. Nobody. MECUM Auctions is the world's leader of collector car, vintage, and antique motorcycle and road art sales, hosting auctions throughout the United States. The company has specialized in the sale of collector cars for more than 35 years, now offering more than 22,000 lots per year and averaging more than one auction per month. MECUM Auctions is headquartered in Walworth, Wisconsin, and since 2011 has been ranked #1 in the world with the number of collector cars offered at auction, and is host to the world's largest collector car auction held annually in Kissimmee, Florida, as well as the largest motorcycle auction held annually in Las Vegas, Nevada. MECUM's Road Art and MECUM On Time divisions offer a wide variety of collectibles for live and online auctions. You can learn more and follow MECUM and their upcoming events at www.mecum.com, or you can follow them on social at MECUM Auction on Facebook, at MECUM_auctions on Instagram, at MECUM on Twitter, and at MECUM Auction on YouTube.
This episode has been brought to you by Grand Touring Motorsports as part of our Motoring Podcast Network. For more episodes like this, tune in each week for more exciting and educational content from organizations like the Exotic Car Marketplace, the Motoring Historian, Break Fix, and many others. If you'd like to support Grand Touring Motorsports and the Motoring Podcast Network, sign up for one of our many sponsorship tiers at www.patreon.com/GT Motorsports. Please note that the content, opinions, and materials presented and expressed in this episode are those of its creator, and this episode has been published with their consent. If you have any inquiries about this program, please contact the creators of this episode via email or social media as mentioned in the episode.